what time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
And we are live. Greetings to our loyal WFYL listeners around the world. Welcome back to your Philadelphia live stream, only on the Freedom Station. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in once again, because you still have the right to hear and the right to be heard. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mike G. As always, with me are Philly Chris, Russ the producer, and Liberty Lee. And you're listening to Mike G in the morning with The Law Matters. And you can listen to our program every Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. So let's be heard. I want to remind our listeners that you can participate in the free and open exchange of thoughts and ideas throughout the entire week by visiting MikeGinthemorning.com. What's it called, Philly Chris?
MikeGinthemorning.com.
How about you, Russ?
MikeGinthemorning.com.
Liberty, are you there?
MikeGinthemorning.com.
Uncle Jerry, what's it called?
MikeGinthemorning.com.
You can catch all the shenanigans that Mike G and Philly Chris are up to throughout the entire week. You can check out all of our social media profiles. So tell your friends, tell your family, tell your barber, tell your Uncle Jerry. He's here right now. Tell him. Check us out at MikeGinthemorning.com. I also want to remind our listeners about the powerhouse lineup we've got here at the Freedom Station. Kick off your mornings with Scott Adams, bringing you the Scott Adams Show weekdays from 9 a.m. until 11. We've got the one, the only Dan the Man Bongino, bringing you the Dan Bongino Show weekdays from noon until 3 p.m. We've got the headliner, intellectual giant Ben Shapiro, bringing you the Ben Shapiro Show weekdays from 3 to 5 p.m. And finally, we love having him at the Freedom Station family. We've got Michael Knowles, bringing you the Michael Knowles Show weekdays from 5 to 6 p.m. So don't forget to tune in and show him some love. And with that, you know what time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride. Hit it, Russ.
You know what time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
We've got a bunch of our loyal listeners tuning in, the Mike G in the Morning family. We've got Stacks Farmstead says no zucchini. Give him a hey now, Philly Chris.
Hey now, Stacks. Hey now.
We got Rita checking in. Rita says she don't want the zucchini either. Give her a hey now, Philly Chris.
Hey now, Rita. Hey now.
We've got Deb G tuning in. Give her a hey now.
Hey now, Deji.
Dag Nabbit, he's in again. Give him a hey now.
Welcome back, Dag Nabbit. Hey now.
And we got Mindy with us. Give Mindy a hey now.
Hey now, Mindy. Hey now.
You know, we've got some unfinished business before we get into our interview with Gerald Amato, special guest with us here. Last week, we had a contest. We were trying to figure out who could predict Russ, the producer's weight. And the instructions were to go back to the video with Mike G and Russ go to the carnival. That was the before. Russ has since lost a ton of weight as a result of his pizza-only diet, right? The very unique 2 feet of cheese and the crust of the pizza. Was it 2 feet or 3 feet?
I think it might be more than 2 feet. It's got to be like 3 or 4 feet, right?
It's 2.5 on the box.
What's
2.5 feet of cheese and the crust. That's the diet. That's how he lost all the weight. Don't try this at home, kids. Philly Chris, did you pull up the video from last week to see everybody's predictions?
I certainly did, Michael.
All right. So what do we got?
All right. The first one by Educated Citizen says, I love Russ, the producer, at any weight.
At any rate, well, that's not really a prediction. I don't think he followed his instructions.
No, that person must be daft. Then we have Mindy Fair. Hey now, Mindy. Hey now. Russ before 270 pounds.
Oh, that's going to be way low.
After,
no?
What was that, Mike?
That's going to be low, no? 274?
Yeah, it's got to be really low by several thousand pounds. Russ before 270 pounds. Russ after. Haven't seen him, so gonna say 190 pounds. That was Mindy's comment.
190 pounds.
Very kind.
Russ would be an underwear model at 190 pounds, right?
Right?
I heard he just got a new contract for that.
He
Yeah, it's
would
with the
lead
pizza
you.
company.
The pizza company. We sell pizza and underwear.
Pepperoni underwear.
What else we got?
After that, we have Francis Michaels with a prediction of 315 before, 285 after.
Oh, that might be close.
It could be close. Could be close. And then we have Dag Nabbit coming in, 352 before, 235 after.
Okay. Maybe a little high for the before, maybe a little low for the after, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
So, Russ, the producer, what are the accurate numbers? What is the before?
There's a
and what
couple
is
more
the after?
predictions, though, too.
Oh, there are. Go ahead.
Yep. Mindy Fair chimed in again and just said, assuming the video was the before weight. So that was one other comment.
Well, that's correct. That is correct.
And then let's see here. The last one's in German or something. I don't know. Maybe it's Russian.
You got German fans, Russ.
It might be Russian. I don't know. Maybe you can
sorry,
read it, Mike.
we should have said specified.
Yeah,
Predictions
exactly.
In English only.
Right.
Use English numbers.
Yeah, please.
Russ,
English
what do you
only.
got?
All right. The grand total is 274, according to my smart scale.
And that's
Nice.
after.
Yes.
What was before?
I don't know exactly what it was in that video. I want to say around like 310. I don't know when that video was made.
So I think the rules were you couldn't go over, right? If you go over, you lose.
Yeah.
So who was closest to either of those weights without going over?
That's a good question. Let's take a look.
I went to law school because I'm bad at math, so you
Right.
have to figure this out for me.
I guess it depends on how we look at it. So Mindy was a 270 before, 190 after. So maybe that still puts her in the running at 190.
Okay.
Francis is still over at 285, right?
No good.
And then we have Dag Nabbit went from 352 to 235. So that's still
That's the winner as of
so
yet,
far.
right?
That's the yeah. I think we have a winner, ladies and gentlemen. Dag Nabbit is.
It is
our
Dag
winner.
Nabbit. Dag Nabbit, get us
Dag
your
Nabbit.
contact information so we get you your prize.
Mm-hmm. It's
All
a pizza
right.
party with Russ.
You can write into MikeGinthemorning.com
Right.
and get
There
you
we
over
go.
your prize. Well, we've got a very special
Yeah,
guest joining us. Continuing on our theme of comeback stories, the last 3 weeks, we've had guests come on and talk about how they've turned their lives around. Going back 3 weeks, we had Jesse Crossan with the Second Chance Project, who spent 19 years in prison in Virginia, recently released and trying to have a positive impact on the world. Then we had Jason Stack of Stack's Farmstead, his magnificent story, and coming on talking about how had a very difficult upbringing and ultimately got neck deep in the life of a career criminal, so to speak, crime after crime, addiction issues, and really turned everything around. Credits God to his turnaround. Fantastic story. If you haven't checked these out, you must check them out. And then we had Jesse Crossan last week, from prison to pastor, who had his run-ins with the law himself, did some time, and I think he said it was his third time in prison.
Yeah.
That he ultimately met Jesus Christ and ended up going to Bible college. And that was an excellent story. He now fights sex trafficking overseas and does a lot of good things in the world. This week, we've got a different kind of comeback story. We've got Gerald Amato. We'll just call him Uncle Jerry. You've heard about him before on this program. We give him a little bit of a shout out every single time we come on the air. But he's got a different kind of comeback story. He was not a career criminal, didn't get tripped up in the criminal justice system, but he certainly was not dealt the greatest hand in life early on. Had a very difficult journey throughout his earlier years and has become a tremendous success story. He's the owner of Gerald Amato Agency, Inc. He's a serial entrepreneur, and he's really become one of the most respected men in his field. Jerry, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start off by telling people a little bit about who you are. You're based in Wichita, Kansas, the greater Wichita area. Tell us a little bit about your businesses and what you do.
So I sell insurance. We have one of the most successful agencies in Kansas. We have an agency in Wichita and one in Rose Hill. We've got 7 employees, and I also run a farm, which Mike knows all about that. And I run many different boards throughout. The president of the chamber. We also have a 9/11 committee that I'm the president of as well. On several board members on 6 different programs as well. So keep a little busy.
Yeah, you keep a little busy, that's for sure. Let's go back a little bit. You said that you have one of the most successful agencies in Kansas, but as I understand, you've been recognized nationally on many occasions. Isn't that so?
Yes, that is true.
So this is a little bit more than just Kansas. People know who you are out there. You talked about the farm briefly. I know that I know about that, but not necessarily everybody else who's listening. So tell us a little bit about what your farm is like.
So we actually have a cow-calf operation. So we have currently we've downsized to about 72 head of cattle. Every year we have babies, calve out. We wean those off and then sell those and then start over again the next year.
How'd you get into that? What made you decide to start a farm? Because on one side you've got this really city-like operation going on with your businesses and everything like that. You don't typically picture people as businessman and farmer. There's sort of 2 different ends of the spectrum.
I've always enjoyed being around animals, and so we bought a bunch of land. And when we had our son, I wanted to develop some type of an income for him, so that way he could go to any college he wanted. So all the proceeds that come from the farming operation actually go to his account.
Cool.
That's very smart. I don't think anybody really has the foresight to think of something like that early on in a child's life and develop something that would generate an income to go towards the college fund. Usually it's people putting a couple of bucks aside here and there when they can. But you're thinking about how do I make this money grow in order to make that happen. Isn't that true?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And, the cool part about what's kind of came about is he has decided that he does want to go into veterinarian school and deal with large animals. So,
Oh, cool.
Wow. So is that,
Maybe he can work on Russ for us.
it's really a big circle then. Now, did you find that when he was growing up and you had the operation running, that having the farm taught him discipline and things of that nature?
I think if anybody has an opportunity to be able to grow up on a farm, it definitely helps in life because it does teach so many different aspects of, number 1, responsibility, number 2, life and death, because there are things that happen with the animals out on the farm, learning how to protect it and learning how to delegate time and time management at the same time. So there's so many different aspects to it that I think is really valuable and great life lessons.
True values that you would not necessarily learn elsewhere. Mindy wants to know, do you have Mike G merch to purchase? We are actually working on a line of mustard.
That's
So
right. That's
keep
right.
your eye out for the mustard.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get that going. Maybe we'll have to bring Uncle Jerry into that with his business mind. How do we
Hey,
sell
now you're
this
talking.
mustard?
Yeah.
Right. What's one of the funny things is that I was in Philadelphia working on a gun case a while back, and a lot of the prosecutors in Philadelphia, they know me for what I do. They know me as the gun guy. One of the prosecutors was curious about how I got into gun law. She pulled me over to the side and said, Mike, I was always curious about this, about how you got into gun law. Were you raised on a farm? And I always tell people, as you could probably tell by the way I talk, I did not grow up on a farm. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. And
there were some
frankly,
animals there, though.
Had I not had Uncle Jerry, there were some animals, the humankind, 2-legged animals, as I call them, right?
The criminals, yeah.
2-legged animals that walk upright. But Uncle Jerry played a very pivotal role in me ultimately getting involved in protecting the Second Amendment, because growing up in New York, I had no idea what a law-abiding gun owner was. I represent law-abiding gun owners for a living today. I do it from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to sleep, but I had never met one in real life growing up. I had always heard that they were out there. And fast forward, when I was offered a scholarship to play college baseball in Oklahoma, I quickly realized we weren't in Brooklyn anymore, and people owned firearms. Civilian firearm ownership, a very big thing, and it's a way of life in Oklahoma. And one of the great things about being out in Oklahoma was I had Uncle Jerry 3 hours north up in Kansas. And I went up to visit him on Thanksgiving the first year I was out there. And that was the first time I was ever exposed to other law-abiding gun owners, because they have this tradition up there where every Thanksgiving, after everybody eats their turkey, all the men, all the women, and all the children go outside and they shoot their guns. That's the first time I was around other law-abiding gun owners. Do you remember that, Uncle Jerry?
Yes, absolutely. The skeet shooting was actually so much fun.
It's
That's
very
awesome.
much fun. And obviously, you folks put a very strong emphasis on firearm safety when you're out there. And you have children who are brought up around this. They know the rules of safety from the time that they're very young, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely. You know, for example, my son, he knows how to tear a gun completely down, how to put it all back together, understands, you know, the full safety realm of how you carry, how you monitor where your gun is aiming. The whole, we go through the whole thing. Even today, every time before we go shooting, we actually still talk about the safety.
That's good.
So it's just kind of ingrained in us.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely important. And I remember when I had people come out and visit, whether they were from my team or somebody visiting from home, if we went up to see you folks on the farm, your son, little Joey, was teaching them the rules of firearm safety. These are grown men. I mean, 19, 20 years old, but they'd never been around firearms before. And this young kid's teaching them the rules of firearm safety. So that was my first exposure.
Very cool.
Now, out on that farm, can you vouch for everybody that I worked on the farm?
Yes, Mike did work on the farm.
No way. I don't know about all that.
I was not raised on the farm, but I worked on the farm. He could tell you I worked for him during the off season when I was out there.
Did you milk a cow, Mike?
I did not milk a cow.
Oh,
did you
okay.
ever have any dairy cows out there?
No, we didn't have any dairy cows.
Okay.
So.
All kinds of other animals.
Good thing you didn't milk a cow then.
No, we have I was a part of herding cattle, though. You can vouch for that, right?
Yes, yeah. The herding cattle, working the cattle, giving them shots, you know, banding and getting the bull calves ready to be steers.
That's cool.
How about the hay? How about the hay?
Hey now.
Yes. You know, Mike learned how to do hay. He actually had to quite a bit. It's a lot of hard work.
It is a lot of hard work. And I remember the first couple of times I was out there, I didn't know how to do anything. And you're like, what did they teach you how to do in New York? You don't know how to do anything. What did they teach you how to do? I'm like, dude, my dad's a musician. What do you want from me? But you, as being on a farm, you learn to do a whole lot of different things. You learn a whole lot of different skills, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, even you know, we taught you a lot about vehicles and maintenance and how to do your own repairs. You know, when you live out on the farm, you're not close to a store. So you have to learn so many different things. Otherwise, you're going to be dead in the water when you're trying to get something done, because if it takes you 2.5 hours to go to town to get a part and come back, you have to be resourceful out there on the farm. And it teaches you so many, like I said, many aspects of life.
Awesome. I remember we were part-time firefighters too, apparently, weren't we?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I do believe that was your fault.
It was it's not my fault.
Mike G starting fires.
His son knew that I smoked cigars, so he blamed it on me. He said, I saw Mike smoking a cigar out there. I said, dude.
Were you hanging out in the bar on the hay, or what were you doing?
I don't have any cigars out here. Tell everybody what happened. Tell that story.
Yeah, so Mike was riding in the tractor with me, and I'm not sure if he threw his cigar out the tractor window or all of a sudden we turned around and one of the pastures were on fire.
Oh, really?
We tried very out there and put it out, but unfortunately it was a little more than we could handle, so we ended up having to have several fire departments actually came out.
No kidding. Wow.
By the time they got there, we mostly took care of it, though. We took the shirts off of our backs and slapped out these flames that were as tall as we were.
It was mostly a peaceful fire.
It was not quite peaceful, but yeah.
I'm not misremembering this. It's not like a fishing story in my head, right? We literally did go out there and slap these fires out with shirts, no?
Under control, so that way it didn't go and move over to a neighbor's property, so I didn't get a lawsuit.
Yeah, right.
You never want one of those. For those of us just tuning in, you're listening to Mike G in the Morning with The Law Matters, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. So,
but that did actually have a grass fire get out of control, and I did get a lawsuit of a couple million on that, but we got.
Uh-oh.
Really? Can you talk about it, or shall it not be disclosed based on legal advice?
We can talk a little bit about it. We actually had so anytime you do a fire, you have to back burn. And when you're back burning, the purpose of the back burning is to make sure that when the fire is going, that it doesn't jump over the burn. So that way you keep it in a controlled area. Well, I was out back burning, and we had a company out there that was, and I can't say their names, but they actually had came out to help us with the fire. And then they got bored because they felt that maybe I was a little too meticulous and slow on getting things done. Rugged the fire quite rapidly, and they are professionals, but that's how the fire got out of control.
Wow. So they just left it in your hands, you would have been good to go.
More than likely. Again, that's something that we're very meticulous on. So, but anyway, it did get out of control. I think it hit maybe 3,800 acres.
Wow. Wow.
3,800 acres. Did anybody get hurt? Hopefully not.
No, nobody got hurt. No structures got. The big thing that everybody was trying to come after was, we have what they call cedar trees out here. I'm sure you maybe know cedar trees, and which nobody wants those anyway. But it did trees on fire, so that's what some of the other landowners were thinking, that they could get money out of.
Gotcha.
Well, cedar, we use those to light cigars. So
that's right. Yeah, well, there you go.
We set it on fire anyway.
It came full circle from the cigar.
So I briefly alluded to the fact earlier on that you didn't have a great upbringing. You had to go through a lot to get where you are today, and living the American dream, basically owning companies and being a successful businessman and having a family and having land and a farm. But that did not come easy. Where were you raised?
Oh, let's see. A lot of places. We did move around quite a bit. So, we spent time in Arizona, California, Mexico.
Mexico.
Yeah, we went down to Mexico for a little bit.
That's cool.
It was getting out of Dodge down there.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of crazy things kind of came about, and there's a lot of things you don't remember when things are not all the greatest, but you do remember a lot. I went to probably 15 different schools before I graduated from high school.
Wow.
So where did you start out? Where were you born?
I was actually, do I have to say that on the air?
Why is it embarrassing?
No, born out in California.
In California, you escaped.
That is embarrassing.
That is embarrassing. Product of California.
Yeah.
So moving around a whole lot as a kid, what was that all about?
Say that again, Mike.
What was that all about, moving around a lot as a kid? What was the reason for that?
Well, there was quite a bit of that happened apparently with my mother. And as I was growing up, they actually had given me a different last name because my mom was running, trying to hide, I guess, in so many aspects. So as we would live in one area, we would get phone calls and people would call up and say, "Hey, we're looking for so-and-so Amato." And the minute we got that phone call, next thing you know, we were up and moving to another place.
Wow.
So there was quite a few different things. I'm not sure what all I should say about that, Mike.
You're free to. I don't typically discuss any of this stuff on the air, but you're more than free to share to the level that you are comfortable. Because you didn't know that you were Amato until later on in life, right?
That is correct. Yes, I thought I was a Kavanaugh at that particular point. So it was quite interesting to find out, and it took a while to kind of put two and two together, but we finally started putting two and two together. Then I actually had got some scholarship things, but found out also I was working and found out that my name was not correct. My social security number was not correct, but the only thing that was correct was my date of birth. So
wow.
Wow. So, you look too Italian to be a Kavanaugh. Did anybody ever tell you that?
I was wondering what was wrong there.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well,
But
maybe there's not enough Italians in Mexico and in Arizona in order to notice that you're too Italian looking. Maybe that was it.
Good point.
So yeah, so there was quite a few different things. As I was raised, there was some type of what would you say, anger towards me because I found out later in life that I look almost identical to my father, my natural. And so I think, getting beat up with the 2x4s and locked in closets and all of those different things that we had to kind of go through was probably part of maybe the guilt that was coming through. I don't know.
So let's back this up. We'll go through the whole entire thing just so that we can really understand what's going on here. You're getting these calls looking for Amato. You have no idea who Amato is. That means people start packing the suitcases and you get out of there, whether it's to Arizona or to Mexico. Your folks are leaving town. As
Correct.
far as you know, and you're a young child at this point, your parents are Kavanaugh and your mother, right?
Right.
And they don't treat you as great as you would treat your son. Fair to say?
Yes.
So what were the kinds of things that you were dealing with at the time?
Correct. So, what were the things we were dealing with? Is that
Yeah, because you talked about briefly getting locked in closets, beaten with 2x4s, taking out anger on you. What is that like? How old are you? What kind of stuff is happening to you? I'm sure it's confusing as a kid.
Yeah, I mean, when, for example, there would be times where I would wake up in a closet and not knowing really how I got to the closet, to be honest with you, but trying to, okay, why am I in this closet and how do I get out of this thing? So I am a little claustrophobic now, but yeah, trying to just figure out why somebody would actually do that to an individual and what am I doing wrong as a person? And, did I do something to deserve this? And I'm always trying to evaluate myself. What did I do? Why is this coming about? If I would do something quite wrong, just little things, there would be quite a big lashing coming out. So, and I usually don't talk too much about this stuff.
No, it's understandable. It's not something you want to talk about every day, but if there's somebody out there who maybe has dealt with something like this and they're feeling the same way and feeling like it's impacted their life to a degree that they can't move forward and they can't be successful, I think that they can see somebody like you who dealt with this stuff and was dealt this bad hand, overcame the adversity and made something of yourself. I think that's a very inspiring story.
Yeah, so we actually were in Mexico for a year, and actually it was kind of a cool experience for a little while, until we ended up seeing a big fight, and the next thing you know, I'm bloody, everybody's bloody, and they said, "Oh, we got to get back to the state." But the it was cool. There were a couple times it got flooded over with the high tides because we were right there on the ocean. We were able to do a lot of fishing, which is something that I thoroughly enjoy.
So you said that you're bloody, other people were bloody. I think the statute of limitations is passed, and it's also in a different jurisdiction. I don't think they're going to extradite you for. I don't think they're going to send you back to Mexico for a fight that happened when you were a kid. Can you tell us a little bit about how everybody got bloody?
So there, somebody had showed up, and I can't quite remember who it was. And next thing you know, of course, at that time, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, my mom and my dad, I got to help protect them. So he was getting beat up pretty bad. So I actually jumped in and started trying to help protect, and got my butt handed to me a little bit on that deal. I was young though. I was probably only 13 years old maybe.
Oh wow.
And so. Long story short, I really don't remember how it all ended because next thing I know, the next morning we were actually already packed up and ready to go.
Wow. So you were unconscious at the end of all
intense.
this, and when you come to, Now, what is the mindset like of a kid, a 13-year-old who's gone through a tremendous amount of abuse and these really unspeakable things, waking up in closets, things of that nature, and still having that in you to want to protect these people who are doing you harm? What is that like?
What's it like? Well, I think it's just what comes from within you. This is your family. You protect them no matter what. And so I just think that that's, to me, I think it's a natural instinct.
Did you ever have issues with self-esteem or anything like that as a result of everything?
Every day.
Every day growing up?
And still today.
And still today, after all that you've achieved, you still deal with that?
Absolutely.
That's incredible. I don't think anybody would look at somebody like you and have that even cross their mind. Even me, I know you for a little while now, right? And that would never cross my mind. I mean, this is the guy where when I went up to Kansas, when I was playing ball in college, there was a guy who had played at my school the year before, and he was playing professionally in Kansas. So I went up to do my rehab after the Tommy John with him on that field in the stadium. And when I started talking to some of the guys who were playing professional ball, and they asked, where I was staying, I told them my uncle lives out here. His name is Gerald Amato. Everybody, oh, we know that guy, of course. Yeah, of course we know that guy. He's just very well known and very successful, very admired in the community. And to think that having a bad start like that could impact somebody the rest of their life and cause these self-esteem issues, it's kind of mind-blowing, because I don't think anybody who looks at you from the outside would think that. I'm sure you realize this, no?
Oh yeah, I try not to show it at any time, but there's always that animosity in the back of your head. It's either it's just ingrained or unlearned, I guess.
Do you think? Have you seen other people who have gone through this kind of stuff and ultimately they let it get the best of them and they went down the wrong path?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, and we'll talk about that here in a second, if that's cool.
Yeah.
So now, if you want me to kind of go on a little bit, getting through high school, my senior year of high school is when I was actually, it's okay to go ahead and fast forward a little bit now.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
You got out of jail in Mexico and then.
So going through high school, I actually aced the ACTs, did really, really well with those. Got some pretty incredible opportunities to be able to go to maybe the school of my choice. Although at that point, I was working, found out that the Social Security number that I had was not correct. So, or I had to go through and jump through a bunch of hoops and go through a court system to show that that was given to me and I was not using somebody else's Social Security.
Right.
That's crazy. So they pin it back on you and say that you're trying to use this fraudulent Social Security number, and this is all you know from the time that you're a kid.
Yeah. So yeah, my mother had given me that, that they actually had me going underneath the last name, never legally adopted, anything like, for those categories. So of course I was pretty embarrassed. But then it was actually good in one aspect, because a lot of the questions throughout growing up and all of the crazy things that were happening started to make sense. So then I found out, okay, now I actually have a father that I've never met before. Well, so I thought, okay, let me start researching and seeing if I can find him. So it took me many, many years. I finished up high school, and then right after high school, I actually found my natural family.
And this was after high school. How old were you when you ultimately got in contact with somebody? Because you find out, did you immediately find out your true last name was Amato at that point?
At that point, that's what I found out what my real last name was. Yeah.
Okay, so you find out Amato. Do you know your father's name at that point?
I did not know for sure.
So you had to do some digging to figure that out.
Yeah, we had to do some digging. Found out that I actually found out that my name was the third and he was junior.
Mm.
Okay. So
Wow.
then you start looking around for Gerald Amato Jr.
Yeah, so I started looking around. I actually got in all of the phone books, did some research, found out that, there was a lot of Amatos in New York. So I actually spent countless number of hours dialing from the phone book every phone number that had an Amato on it.
Wow.
In New
Yeah.
York, that's incredible because
Yeah.
it's a pretty common Italian last name out there. And where
3
are you
years
living
later.
at this point? Where are you living at this point?
Okay, so once I found out about that, I actually, decided that it was time for me to move on. So I had two choices. I could, number one, start hanging out with the crowd that was a little bit more in touch with the same situations that I was in, and those types of situations were, they were really deep into alcohol, deep into drugs. Just deep into really trying to go out there and have that rebellious nature. And so I actually did have a choice. I actually had went to a church and met some evangelists. And so I had gotten in touch with those evangelists, hit it off with them pretty good. And once I found that out, I decided to go ahead and travel with them. So we actually traveled around the United States. And I played the bass guitar. We got to be able to minister with the youth and
Cool.
share my story a little bit, and I think that really kind of helped build me up a little bit at the same time. But that's how I ended up in Kansas, because I actually met a family in Kansas, and they actually had a farm, and they needed a farmhand.
Cool.
So because that was my junior year of high school, so my senior year of high school, I actually finished it up in Kansas underneath my correct name.
Wow. So you finish up in Kansas and you don't have parents living in Kansas. You're out there in Kansas by yourself.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So now I do have 4 younger sisters as well. Those 4 younger sisters are from our same mother and from the gentleman that I thought was my father at that time. So I'm going to high school, working another job, 2 jobs actually, and I get a call from my sister saying, "Hey, we don't know what to do. We got to do something. We got to come. Can we come live with you?" And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, so who comes with you? That means that my mom has to come with you guys.
Mm.
And me as having that soft-natured, even though I shouldn't be no soft-natured at that point, I was still. So I said, yeah, sure, I'll figure out a way. So I went in, I found a house, I rented the house out, filled it up with furniture, basically used a lot of my savings that I had already started saving up, went out to Arizona, picked them up, and drove them back to Kansas.
How long is that drive? I've done that drive before.
That'd be brutal.
It was
How many?
21.
And for a
Ouch.
kid you're 17 years old at that time?
Yes.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, talking about taking on man responsibilities.
Right.
yeah. So I went ahead and brought my 4 sisters and my mom back, and got another job on top of it to make sure that I was able to make sure all their bills and everything were paid, so they could try to enjoy their school and not have that financial burden of somebody trying to make them work. So that's kind of what I did. After that, I graduated from school there, and I came up to. I actually started doing some research. Started going to school to get my associate's degree. I really had a passion for business because the people that I had actually lived on the farm with, they had a construction company as well. So I actually helped build their siding construction company up by 25%. They were
Nice.
really what I could do. So naturally, I felt compelled to continue to, explore more into the entrepreneurial state.
So you learned by doing, though. You get involved in there, and hey, this is your shot, kid, and you get in there and you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So just go in there and prove yourself and keep moving forward.
And didn't you have the opportunity to come east to go to school?
I did. I actually was accepted to West Point and not go because my dad, the guy that I say is my dad, is the guy that raised me. Not so well, but he raised me. But he always tried to go into the military, which I'm really kind of surprised because I probably would have gotten even more trouble if I went and tried to apply at the military with the wrong name.
Right.
Could have been different, yeah.
And of course, that was kind of the problem that I was running into is my transcripts, everything were kind of out of whack, and I was quite embarrassed, to be honest with you. And that was kind of my rebellion for not going, because I did not want to follow anybody else's rules that lied to me all their life.
Gotcha. Now, ultimately, sometimes we look back on things and say, I had this opportunity, I missed this opportunity. It seems like you did end up in the right place. God didn't make any mistakes, and you're exactly where you were supposed to be. But looking back on that, does it teach you something a little bit about the importance of guidance when you're looking towards your kid and you're raising your kid, and how a little bit of guidance can push somebody in a different direction?
Oh, absolutely. I think everything in the parenting skills, as you're going through life, being that mentor to your child in one aspect is pretty critical as well, because if your child can respect what you're doing and respect you, they're not going to have that rebellious type status of, hey, no, I'm not going to do that, even though it's great for me. Is that what you're saying, Mike?
Yeah. Well, Liberty often says that when you have somebody who goes through trauma during their childhood, they can go in one of two directions. One is that they could decide, I'm going to do the exact opposite, and I'm going to be the best parent that I can possibly be. But the other, unfortunately, is that they continue along with the cycle. And far too often we see that, where somebody's got a terrible upbringing, they're abused, they're treated poorly, and so that's all they know, and they continue on that cycle. They treat their kids poorly, they abuse their children. You seem to have definitively chosen one path, and it seems like you learned a lot of lessons on what not to do along the way, unfortunately, right?
Yes, absolutely. I still make many, many, many mistakes, but I definitely don't make the mistakes that I dealt with.
Yeah. So now at this point, you're still in Kansas?
Yes.
When you're in junior college, is that what you said?
Yeah, I was going to Friends University, so getting my associate's degree completed.
Was it called, because we played against them when I was at OBU, was it called Friends University of Central Kansas?
I guess, when was that you played over there? Yeah, that they did call it that.
Friends University of Central Kansas. Could you imagine the T-shirts that they had, right? Philly Chris, you got that? Friends University of Central Kansas?
Yeah, that must have been interesting.
Great T-shirts over there. Can't say it on the air.
Right. Well, maybe Russ can.
What were you studying?
Basically, I actually, believe it or not, wanted to go into anesthesiology.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah, so of course at that point too, it was a little bit more difficult because I moved up to Wichita, and I still ended up raising my 4 sisters, as well as my mother, and working 3 jobs and going to school. It's very, very difficult to keep yourself focused 100%.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah.
So, but I did it. I got through it, and my mom finally started kind of getting on her feet a little bit, and so I said, okay, great, I'm going to start going my way. Well, she did go ahead and she got her own place, but I don't know how she did, but she put all the bills in my name.
Oh no!
Wow!
Come on, man!
Wow!
Yeah, so she put all the name, and
jeez.
So I didn't find that out until a little bit later when I had to pay all that. But but it is. I mean, it seems like every time I turn around, I was in the hole. But I did buy, at 19 years old, I bought my first duplex. Lived in one side, rented the other side out. It made perfect sense to me to buy one because then I could turn around and put that money in another aspect. And so I actually, we do have some rental properties as well. I guess I didn't mention that earlier. Still today, I think investing in all kinds of different avenues is critical. Keeping your portfolio a little broad.
Sure.
You seem to understand money the way a lot of people don't, based on your business ventures and how even early on you were able to grow that business, where I presume that the business was being run by people who had been in the field for a little while, and also they were not 17, 18 years old. So what is it that gave you that understanding? Was it an education thing, or was it something that came naturally to you?
I think a lot of the life lessons that you learn, you just don't want anything to beat you. You want to overcome every aspect and figure out a way to make it happen. And that, people have two choices. One, they can kind of go that path of saying, hey, I'm not going to let anything get me, or, hey, everything's already got me, so I'm just going to let myself. So
Do you remember a time in your life when you sort of made that mental shift to think that way, or was there something that happened that allowed you to overcome those challenges and then just get on the right track mentally to overcome?
Yeah, I think after I traveled around with the evangelist, I think that where, I sat there and thought, you know what, woe is not me. Right? I'm gonna rise and I'm gonna make something happen.
Awesome.
So that's my choice to go that route instead of, like I said, I know other people, and I have clients that have had bad situations in their life, and they chose the wrong path.
Sure.
And if I can help enlighten people and letting them know, it's okay to choose the right path. You don't have to feel sorry for yourself. You don't have to let everybody else feel sorry for you, because that's not what it's about. You have to rise to the occasion.
You also are an incredibly competitive human being. That's something that is within people. I think part of it is having the work ethic to go out there and actually do it. But there seems to be this trait that's deep within somebody. I'm talking about people like a Michael Jordan or a Derek Jeter, these folks that Derek Jeter wasn't the most talented baseball player to ever live. He was not to diminish your talent or your abilities or anything like that. But what I'm saying is that trait is incredibly important. And that's why a guy like him led the team to so many world championships. Did you notice early on that you had that competitive gene in you?
I don't know if I noticed it earlier on. I did always pick up on it, after the fact. And that's why when I worked for that siding company, I wanted to prove that I was going to make something successful, and I was going to do whatever it took to make it happen. So I guess at that point is where I kind of really felt like it started, maybe.
Did you play sports as a kid?
I did not. I ran track is the only thing that I did. But from moving from one school to the next school to the next school, the problematic area with that is when you go from one place to the next, it's very difficult to join a team in the middle of a season.
You didn't play Little League in Mexico?
No, I did not.
So when you started making these phone calls in the telephone book to all the Amatos, at that point, you were already in Kansas. You're working for the company. You're growing the business. Is that the point in your life?
Yeah. So I was helping those guys. I was calling, making the phone calls. I moved to Wichita. I was still making the phone calls, which was a year and a half later.
Well, think about how competitive you have to be in order to do that, right? To persist with something like that. How many people would give up after an hour? How many people wouldn't try it? How many people would be too scared to even try that at all? A lot of people hate cold call. I had an internship when I was in Oklahoma, calling people asking if they wanted to sell their mineral interest for an oil and gas company, and it was terrible. People curse you out, people hang up the phone, and imagine trying to call a bunch of people from New York nonetheless. You know,
Right.
they don't have that Southern hospitality. You recognize that, right? How persistent it must have had to take in order to do that.
Like you said, making those phone calls, especially, living not in New York and getting that type of a culture when you're calling and somebody's cussing you out because you're saying, hey, I'm looking for my family. All the wonderful things that I heard on the phone. I was actually quite shocked a few times.
Well, they probably thought you were trying to scam them. I told you this when I first came out to Oklahoma, and somebody in the grocery store says hi to you and they start talking to you. I'm backing up looking at their hands because I think they're trying to rob me. People just don't do that on the East Coast, right? So they probably thought you were trying to scam them, don't you think?
Yeah, that had to have been what it was, because it was definitely an experience. But you know what? You take those challenges and you continue to rise. So I did.
So it took a year and a half for you to finally find somebody?
Yes, yeah. I remember when I called and said, "Hey, this is Gerald Amato. I'm looking for my family. I really don't know where to start, but I'm just trying to find somebody because I would love to find my family." And
I know it's tough.
Yeah. No. Thank you for sharing everything, by the way.
Must have been a really crazy moment in your life.
Yeah. No, I can't imagine making those calls. Yeah.
All those years making those calls around, finally finding somebody. And it's something that's completely different. You probably thought at some point that you were never going to be successful. Did that ever cross your mind when you're going down the line, you're calling everybody over and over again, that this is just never going to happen? Are you sort of just going through the motions at some point?
Absolutely. You're sitting there thinking, man, what kind of time am I wasted on this? And somebody says, go ahead. And it was, sorry.
No.
Yeah. It's something that 99.9999% of people on this planet will never go through and never have gone through.
Yeah.
And so it's something that a lot of people can hardly imagine. Think about.
It was awesome. I ended up being able to find my natural family. Found out that I had 2 sisters. Found out I had a brother. Found out I had a bunch of aunts and uncles. Was able to
wait. You had a nephew too, didn't you?
Debbie.
He's trying to forget about that.
Who had 2 kids, and it's incredible.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Who was it that you ultimately got in touch with first?
Aunt Gertrude.
Okay, all right. So you find out that you got the right person, and she listened, she connects you with your family. Ultimately, people on this side of the family, and hey, you've got this uncle that you've never heard of. and he lives in Kansas. Kansas is real? I thought that was just a myth that they talked about on TV. Right. And you're in the 2nd grade growing up in New York. It's like, you mean there's something beyond New York? Yeah, he comes in from Kansas. I thought that was just in the Wizard of Oz, that whole Kansas place. That's a real place. And he comes in, and you should have seen this guy. He's handsome, he's young, he's got a mustache, right? He was cool. He was the cool uncle. You've since gotten rid of the mustache, though, right?
Yeah, I did.
They're coming back.
So I went ahead and took a flight in and met Debbie and Jerry at the airport, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, how am I going to know who they are? I was waiting for maybe a picture to get mailed to me, but we were too excited just to try to meet as quickly as we could. When they see me in the airport, they had no doubt who I was because, like I said, I looked like my father, right? Almost identical.
That's funny.
Yeah, it is actually pretty scary.
That's wild.
So
Mm.
yeah, so sorry about that, guys. I just
No, it's very touching what you're sharing, and it's
sorry about what?
yeah,
Sorry about
yeah.
what? I mean, we appreciate you coming on and
Mhm.
sharing this story with everybody, because this is not something that you hear every day,
Mhm.
right?
oh yeah.
So,
So
so did you find out who Gerald II was?
yeah, so then I found out that he actually passed away when I was 4.
Oh, okay.
So, but I was able to meet the family. I was able to learn a little bit more about my heritage and learn and start understanding a little bit more about why my childhood was what it was.
Mm.
Well, because ultimately he was trying to find you, right?
Absolutely, yeah. He was trying to find me. He actually went on national television. Pleaded for my mom to show up, bring it up. He actually got cancer. He actually died in the hospital and woke up in the morgue.
Really? Wow.
I
That's
remember
crazy.
vaguely hearing this story. Do you know any more details about this?
Yeah, so they pronounced him dead. They brought him to the morgue, and
That's
then
crazy.
he revived in the morgue, and so of course that got him back. They did a big old story about that. Father's trying to find son and his 2 daughters, and wants to find these guys so that way he can die peacefully.
Mhm.
So there was
Wow.
another that actually had came out, and of course I'm sure my mom had probably seen that story, but chose not to abide by his last wishes or make that happen. So
Mm.
again, there was probably many reasons for them to have a lot of guilt, and that's again I think sometimes when people have guilt, I think they take it out on the wrong people.
Happens a lot.
But I kept moving forward and just kept plugging away and learning how to be successful.
Mm.
Now, I don't want to pour salt on anything right now or anything, but I'd imagine that when you finally find your family, did you know at that point when you were looking that he was no longer alive, or did you not know that at that point?
I did not know for sure whether he was alive or not.
Mm.
Okay.
So
Was it somewhere in the back of your mind that, hey, maybe this guy might not even be alive anymore?
yeah. After a year and a half, of course,
Mm-hmm.
thinking, okay, am I chasing something that's not even real?
Gotcha.
So and
But
then
what was obviously it was upsetting when you found out that you finally connected with these people and he passed away when you're 4 years old.
yeah,
So,
it was it was kind of heartbreaking at that point, and also his mother and his father had already passed away as well, so I wasn't able to
Mm.
to meet them as well.
right. Yeah. They were
Wow.
older, obviously. He was young when he passed away, though. And so you come on out to New York. What was that like coming to New York for the first time? I remember when you showed up. First of all, you brought me this incredible case of Pogs. I don't know if anybody who's listening remembers Pogs, but there were these little cardboard circles. And if you had them in school, you were very cool. That was something that everybody was collecting as a kid in the second grade. And I had, a handful of them. And Uncle Jerry shows up. This Uncle Jerry guy I've never heard of nor met before. With it had to be 200. This huge case of all
Nice.
kinds of different Pogs and these things called slammers. These big heavy things that go along with the Pogs. How'd you get your hands on these Pogs?
So I actually opened up a lot of different businesses throughout time too. So I looked for fads, and so I actually got a hold of some people in California, found out that this milk cap game called Pogs was very, very popular out there, and it was just coming to Kansas, to the mid states. So I thought, you know what? I think I can make some money with this. So I invested some monies. I was actually able to get a hold of several places out there that, as that fad was starting to die out there, usually, sometimes things are slower to get here. So I actually invested a little bit of money, opened up a store, which quite frankly, was super, super successful.
Hmm.
And I actually was able to use all the proceeds of that to buy another property.
Well, that's great.
But that's how I got into that, Mike. That's how I brought those
Very
two.
cool.
King of Pogs, the King of Pogs over here, ladies and gentlemen.
Do you still have the Pogs, Mike? Where are the Pogs?
I don't have the Pogs. No.
Hey, Mike did get paid though from my son when he was out there working on the farm.
I did get paid from your
very
son on
cool.
the farm. Yes,
Very
I
nice.
was actually, when I was working out there, I was trying to get an engagement ring at the time.
Mm.
And so I was coming on out working for Uncle Jerry. And Uncle Jerry asked his son what he thought I should be paid for the weekend on the farm. And I think the offer was a jar that he found at the dump, a dead cow, a 15-year-old dog, and no money. That was the offer.
No money.
I still have the jar that he found at the dump to this day. It actually sits on one of my desks where I keep spare rounds in. Actually,
Very cool.
If I've
Very
gotta
cool.
clear the chamber.
It's like an antique jar or something, or just
It's just
random.
a regular jar that he found at the dump.
Interesting.
That's what my work on the farm was. What could I say? I wasn't raised on a
Is it
farm.
true that this is how your clients still pay you to this day, Mike?
They do not.
That's right.
I be out of business very quickly.
Right.
And dead cow and 15-year-old.
Yeah,
We have
right.
all these 15-year-old dogs all around. Right?
That's funny. Well, they must be healthy.
So what was it like coming out to New York for the first time?
So it was definitely a culture shock. You know, there was a fear of going, first of all, just, you know, meeting people that are your family that you've never met before.
Yeah.
Going to such a populated area that you've really never, you know, been in quite that big of a population. And getting there, just seeing everything was just absolutely amazing, to be honest with you. You know, seeing the buildings and the skylines, and then of course meeting the family. That was quite interesting. I remember when I came in the door, Aunt Helen was there, and she fainted.
Yeah, that's right.
She fainted because she thought I was her brother.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Looked like my father.
That's
So
pretty wild.
My brother who had passed away how many years ago at that point, right?
That's weird.
yeah,
I don't know, 20 years ago at that point, right?
yeah.
Yeah. And I remember when she woke up, she said he looks just like Junior. Yeah, looks just like Junior.
That was a little freaky when that happened, but you know.
Yeah, these people that you don't know them, they're your family, but you don't know them, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was absolutely fantastic. The food, you know, I don't know if you guys know, but Mike's dad is just an absolute phenomenal cook. I remember going there and thinking, I can never leave here. This food is just unbelievable.
That's cool.
You're going to turn into a fat Italian guy in no time, right?
You know, I tried, but it just doesn't work for some reason.
He came out this ripped farmhand from
Yeah.
Kansas, businessman, GQ, most eligible actor, and turned into a fat Italian guy in 2 weeks.
That's funny.
So at that point, you're going into, you've got all these different business ventures going on. When is it that you decide you're going to get into insurance?
So I had candy stores in the malls. And so we were actually in 5 different malls. I was getting to a point where, you know, working 80 hours a week is quite a bit, maybe even more than that, especially during the holiday seasons. And I thought, you know, it's time for me to try to relax and enjoy a little bit more life. So I thought maybe I should consider doing something different. And I had a good friend said, hey, I think you'd do great in insurance. And I said, oh, I'm not going to be one of those guys. No, seriously, just give it a try. So I was like, you know, I'll get a license. I'll see if I like it or not.
What was it that turned you off about that? Had you always just thought, hey, that's not me, I'm a little too much of a free spirit for something like that? Or
For the insurance?
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of times, you know, people give insurance guys a reputation that, you know, not the greatest reputation in the world. And I just
Really?
maybe that's just not what I want to do. But then after I went ahead and tried it out a little bit, I thought, you know what, I can make a difference in this world.
Mm.
I can turn around and not try to be one of those guys that are just trying to get money out of somebody. I want to be here to teach people how they can protect themselves in financial situations.
Mm-hmm.
I took a different approach with the insurance on, educating people and making sure that, hey, if this is something you don't need, don't do it. But if it's something that you do need, let's do it right and do it the right. So, I took a different philosophy than a lot of other agents actually did have, and just thoroughly started enjoying it. Of course, at that point, I was getting offers from every company that was out there wanting to try to recruit me over.
Nice.
And then, of course, they were trying to recruit me also into the management fields. And I said, I don't want to be a corporate employee. I want to be my own. So
good for you.
And then, so
that's awesome.
When did it ultimately become your place?
The insurance?
Yes.
So so I worked for that other company for not quite a year, and then I opened up my own right after.
Wow. So after only a year, you decided, hey, I'm ready for the big leagues. This is it. Yeah. I'm taking over this town.
Yeah. 26 years later, I'm here.
26 years later.
Wow.
And when did you open up the second location?
We opened up the second location, I think, what was it, 2000? And when did you leave Oklahoma?
Oklahoma, 2014.
All right. So it's been 2015.
Gotcha. So what is that like, being out there, having these two places? You got employees all over the place and everything like that. Things have grown a lot over the years, haven't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, if, you have two choices in life, you can try to sit back and, try to just get by, or you can, go 190% and keep moving forward. And so that's what I do.
Again, that's the competitive nature in you, isn't it? Right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
No matter what you're doing, you're competing. I can tell you this shows the kind of competitive person that he is. I don't remember how we ended up doing it, but we were playing cards for quarters. And I ended up ahead big time. I ended up ahead big time. And we had probably been up for 2 days in a row at that point. That's just normal, right?
Yeah.
And he refused to lose. He was down to like one quarter. And we sat there and played till like 4 o'clock in the morning until he won every single quarter on that table.
Not stopping. That's
and I'm a competitive guy. Don't get me wrong.
I was going to say, it seems to run in the family. Yeah,
he's a little more competitive than I am. I don't know. I was ready to go to bed at 3:30. I'm some kind of a wimp, right? Yeah. That's another thing. He's very, very tough guy. Like we're talking about. You ever watch David Goggins, the Navy SEAL guy who runs? I think he's an Army Ranger and Navy SEAL, if I'm not mistaken. And he runs these 100-mile runs and stuff, and tells people nobody cares, stop whining, all that kind of stuff, and no excuses sort of thing. That's the kind of guy that Jerry is. No excuses, stop your whining, no nonsense.
Awesome.
We made a joke one time where because he's always encouraging me to tough things out and everything, keep going, keep your head up. And we were working on something on the trailer. He had bought this trailer. We were trying to fix it, and we had to get the steel, and we had to screw the steel in. And something happened, and he ended up, the steel fell down. This steel sheet fell down and cut his fingers all over the place. Do you remember that, Jerry?
Oh, jeez.
And it cut his fingers like crazy, and there's blood everywhere. And he goes, "Look at this." And I said, well, what are you whining about? I said, if I would have cut my fingers like that, you would have said, oh, yeah, well, I get cuts on my fingers every single Tuesday and Thursday, and they're legally declared the worst cuts in America. So knock it off. But you need male role models like that in your life to continue to tell you to keep pressing on and everything like that.
That's true.
That's important. When you first found out that you had a couple of knucklehead nephews, what was that like? You got these little kids who think you're the man, you're the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, you know, it was actually, I was on top of the world. I remember, you know, just being able to hang out with you guys. And, you know, for the first time, I've never played stickball because I never heard of that. And we played stickball out there in the street. Remember that?
I, to this day, thought that you were hustling us by telling us that you had never played before. You're saying that you seriously did never play? Because here's what happens.
Maybe
He's
he's
like,
still
hey,
hustling you.
you guys show me how you play because I've never played before. And you know, we're 8 and 6 years old. So we're like, oh, he's never played before. Here's what you do. You come out over here. Here's how you swing. And then he's like, all right. So we go to pitch to him and hits the ball across the street over the house that's across the street. And we never see the ball ever again. And even at 8 years old, I'm like, son of a B. This guy's played before.
Right.
Oh, but I didn't play stickball.
Oh, okay. So you pulled a Bill Clinton on us. You're like, well, it depends on what your definition of the word stickball is. Hey, is Slick Willie there? So Slick Willie there talk about
He should be there somewhere.
the
Yeah.
definition of the word stickball.
He played stickball for a little bit.
Depends
didn't
on
he?
what your
Stickball?
definition of the word stick is. That was a whole lot of fun though.
Mm.
So
No, it's cool.
if there's anybody out there who is perhaps looking for their family, they don't know who their family is, what would your message to them be? Because I'm sure that somewhere along the way you felt like giving up and wondering whether it was worth it and everything like that. If you don't say that if you could do it all over again, you would have never looked in the phone book. Please don't say that. He's like, I had to meet this Mike G guy, and I wish that was the worst thing that ever happened to me.
I would tell everybody, just don't give up. I mean, in today's world, it's so much easier maybe to find people with the social media channels and you know, these genetic things that they have going on. I think it's a little more simple in life now than what it was back then, because they didn't have any of that type of that technology. But just don't give up. I mean, you know, if that's what your dream is, make it happen. Whether it takes 30 days or 10 years, just don't give up.
I was watching this documentary on ESPN recently. There was this guy, and he was known for being an imposter, meaning he would show up at like the NBA All-Star game dressed in a uniform and sneak onto the court with the other players and stuff.
Wow.
And he got away with it in a few different professional venues. And after he died, they found out that he had like 50 different kids because he was a donor when he was younger, and he and his wife were trying to get by.
Wow.
And they told him that that the family would never find out, and all this other stuff. And turns out he's got like 50 kids out there. So all these people have these half siblings. How many of you are there total? Do you know off the top of your head?
With us?
Yeah.
So, I got to count.
There's a lot.
Yeah. So.
Excuse me for just a minute.
Yeah. How many?
12.
12 total. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So another thing we didn't talk about with your competitive nature is you got involved in competitive racing too, didn't you?
Yeah. We do a lot of dirt bike racing.
But when did that start? Because that started when you were younger, didn't it?
So that started back when I was, let's see. I didn't start that until I was probably, sorry, my phone is dropping. In 2003, probably.
Okay.
2000.
So
around 2000. Yeah, 2000.
Around 2000. And you never raced competitively when you were younger?
No, never raced competitively. Matter of fact, I've only ridden 3-wheelers before I got onto a dirt bike, and so a buddy of mine's like, "Hey, you need to do this." So I thought, okay, let's go give it a try. So we went out and we practiced for about 30 days, and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of fun." He says, "Oh, there's a race coming up this weekend. Why don't you sign up for it?" I said, "All right." So signed up for the race. It was a hare scramble. I ended up taking 3rd place in the class, which he was absolutely amazed by. And so I just
Was he
kept moving.
kind of mad too because he was somebody who was into it, and you're out there taking third place your first time?
Yeah, he was, because he didn't play, so he wasn't too happy. But happy for me, of course. But yeah, so we do a lot of racing. My son does a lot of racing. He's absolutely incredible. Back then I used to I raced all over the place. We did a lot of indoor racing, arena crosses. So we've actually got rooms full of different trophies and accomplishments there. In '05, I believe it was. It was actually, yeah. I actually ended up breaking my neck.
Wow.
So
So that's another wrinkle to this whole adversity and overcoming adversity. 2005. Is your kid born yet at that point?
he was just born.
He's just born, and you end up breaking your neck. How did it happen?
I actually hit a jump. We went out to this new track, and so of course we were out testing it, and I didn't put all my proper gear on. I didn't wear my neck braces, and so we went out there, and of course trying to take it easy. That's not in my nature, unfortunately. So I actually hit a jump and hit a kicker, and so what it did is it actually flipped my bike, and so I rotated about 5 different times, hitting my head on the ground every time. Woke up in the hospital. You know those the CT scans where you go in there and you hear all this beeping, and
Sure.
I remember when I came to, I was in this thing and in this tunnel, and there was a bright light, and all I could hear was this, and I'm like, "Am I dead?" And they're like, "Don't move."
Wow. So what was the recovery like on that? Did they have to screw the things into your head or anything to keep it in place?
No, I actually wore a neck brace, but they actually went through and they redid C3 through 7, put cadaver bones and plates. But I still race today.
So it didn't get you off the bike. That
No.
wasn't enough. We've got Gene Simpson says, hello, Jerry and Mike Jr. I tuned in late. I admire your courage. Such a young man to go through so much and become so successful. So nice to hear your story. Thank you, Gene, for tuning in. Hey now. We got Amani tuning in. Hey now, Amani. Hey now. We got Helen tuning in. Hey now, Helen. Hey now. And we've got Denise DG. Hey now. And we've got Randy tuning in. Hey now. So, Jerry, you've got the different kind of comeback story. And I hope you don't think I'm being, you've got pictures of the dirt bikes on the wall.
Do that?
Yeah, that's all it's from your racing days.
Yeah, so that's, we post a lot of those photos up on the walls.
That's amazing.
Anyway.
When you ultimately look back on everything and you see the journey that you've taken to get where you are, because it's a comeback story in a completely different sense. You've overcome a tremendous amount of adversity. So talk about going through the traumatic childhood, finding out that you had this family you didn't know about, trying to find them and taking a long time to find them, being saddled with all this responsibility at such a young age, breaking your neck and coming back from that, because you seem like you're moving around pretty well, right? You're not in a wheelchair or anything like that. Did they ever think that you were going to have some kind of limited mobility as a result of the broken neck?
Yeah, they actually weren't sure if I was going to be paralyzed or not.
Wow.
Completed. So
how long was the recovery?
Well, they said I was supposed to be out for 6 months, but I think after 30 days, I started doing my own thing again.
30 days, did you say?
Yeah.
That's one of those ridiculous stories like you hear about the professional wrestlers, right? Professional wrestlers where they're supposed to be out for this amount of time. There was a guy a couple of months ago who he tore his pec off the bone, and they thought for sure the match wasn't going to happen because in real life he tore his pec off the bone, and he gets in there and goes through the match with everything all purple and everything, and had the surgery afterwards because he figured he couldn't make it any worse. These are like the ridiculous stories that you hear back in 30 days. That's insane.
Well, I actually took my surgeon aside and I said, all seriousness, do you really think that this is a 6-month, thing? You put plates in, you got screws in there. I mean, how safe and how strong is that? He said, oh yeah. He says, you're not going to hurt it again. You might hurt above it or below it, but you're not going to hurt it again. I said, so then I'm just going to go ahead and, get moving. And he says, well, you're supposed to go through all this physical therapy and do all this the correct way. And I said, well, you told me exactly what I needed to know, so thank you.
Billy Chris, you missed it. He broke his neck. They told him that he might not ever walk again. They
What?
told him he was going to be out for 6 months when he had all the plates inserted and everything, and he was
No
back
way.
in 30 days.
Wow, I left at the wrong time, apparently. Sorry about that. I needed
Oh,
a
and
little
by the way.
bathroom break. Yeah.
Oh, and by the way.
Just when you
Now,
think it
in the
can't get
long
worse.
run, was
Yeah.
that a good move or a bad move, you think?
I think it was a good move.
It was a good move.
How did you break your neck?
I wrecked my dirt bike. Racing
Oh,
dirt.
okay. Yeah,
He
that'll
was
happen.
a competitive dirt bike racer.
Really?
missed that
Oh, very
part, too.
cool. What'd you have? What kind of bike did you have?
So when I broke my neck on that, I think I was riding my YZ 125.
Oh, yeah. Was that two-stroke?
2-stroke, yeah.
Two-stroke. Yeah, I remember
And you
those.
you also missed that he was a bullfighter in Spain for a little while. And he
I did ride bulls before, so.
You did ride bulls before. Tell us about
Oh,
riding
okay.
bulls.
All right, I want to hear about this.
It's an 8-second deal. 8 seconds feel like it's an hour and a half's worth of riding. Believe it or not, that 8 seconds seems really like it's not a very long time, but it
I
is.
would imagine, yeah.
You're kind of like the Dos Equis guy. It's like he is the most interesting man in the world. From bull riding, dirt bike racing, son of a gun.
Right. A little bit of everything.
I did, Mike, actually, is I chose to do things that were more adrenaline filled.
Mhm.
We would actually get off work on a Friday, drive down to Colorado and, go snow skiing all weekend and drive back in time to get back, to open things up and start working again.
Awesome.
Then we had the opportunity to start jumping out of helicopters on the fresh snow and going down. So that was quite a rush as well.
Always wanted to try that.
So you jumped out of a helicopter?
Heli skiing?
On a set of skis.
Very cool.
On a set of skis. That's something.
Hmm.
All right, what else you got?
Top that, Uncle Jerry.
Yeah. Well, I do like doing my sport fishing on the ocean.
Yeah, that's the thing now that you get to enjoy with your family, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We get
What'd
to
you
go down.
say?
Goes fishing.
Oh, okay. What do you fish for?
We fish for a lot of different things. Fleet fish. We like to.
I think we're losing him.
Right.
Oh, broke up a little bit there. Yeah.
Is that him?
Shark. You said sharks. Great whites.
Shark bait.
Shark bait.
Shark bait.
Yeah, no, we don't do a lot of shark. I mean, we catch sharks, but we don't do it purpose.
Gotcha.
So many sharks out there.
Mike,
There you are.
Liberty.
we had a question come in that they wanted Mike to ask Uncle Jerry how he felt when he met Uncle Jeff.
Oh, Liberty can ask that. So you had a brother that you didn't know about, right? You had the two sisters who picked you up at the airport. You had a brother you didn't know about. How did it feel when you met your brother?
So I was actually super excited because he was the only brother that I didn't think I had any brothers because I grew up in a house with 6 girls. And so, because I had my 4 younger sisters and my 2 older sisters that I lived with, found out about Jeff. Excited to meet him. It was definitely a different experience at the beginning, but he did. He welcomed me with open arms, and I learned a lot of interesting things from him. So it was exciting. It was just being able to meet everyone. It was exciting. It was a part of my life that was very emotional, just because it was me. It was who I was.
Right. Awesome.
It's very interesting how some people could be so alike and so different at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
having not ever been raised together, right? Never
Right.
known one another, be so alike in so many ways,
That's cool.
but really different because Jeff had a different path, well loved, well respected
Hmm.
among everybody. He ultimately was on one of the cleanup crews after 9/11.
Oh
Got
yeah.
cancer and passed away very quickly.
Mm.
We lost him a few years ago.
Horrible situation that is.
But
Yeah.
interestingly, and I guess I can say this, one of the reasons why I am the way I am in the context of criminal defense is because I've got a heart for people in those situations.
Mhm.
That was Uncle Jeff for much of my life.
Very cool.
Uncle Jerry, I think, saw the reason why I am a criminal defense attorney when we got the call that he was in the hospital and he had been diagnosed with cancer. He was incarcerated at the time. And so when they brought him into the hospital, they had the marshals in there. And Jerry probably tells the story better than I do, but me and Jerry walk through the door. He gets on a plane, gets there as quickly as he can. And I drove over. And you remember when we walked into that door?
Yes.
I was not shy, was I, with those marshals?
No, not at all.
I remember you telling me about that. Yeah.
I was kind of, I was kind of intimidated, but Mike was like, just bulldozing his way through.
Nice.
And then they tried to tell us that they told somebody that the policy was that there could be 2 people in the room at the same time, I think it was. And we both walked in and we had our IDs. We were following the rules. And keep in mind, we dropped everything to go all the way out there because in our minds, we never know when's going to be the last time we see him, how many minutes are left that we have on the planet with this guy. And they tell us, oh no, one of you's got to wait in the other room because we only allow one at the same time. And Uncle Jerry's ready to say, okay, yes, sir. And I said, no, I need you to show me your policy because you said 2 and I know how to count.
1 1,000, 2 1,000.
But sometimes people tell me in court that when they see the way I fight a criminal defense case, it's like I'm fighting for my own. I'm fighting for my family member, and it's because I've been there and know what it's like. And that feeling comes back when I see somebody who's been done wrong. And not to say that every criminal defense person is innocent or anything.
Sure.
But when they're not following the rules, it shouldn't be allowed. They should have to follow the rules, and the rules are what they are. They should have to follow them.
Right.
I don't know. And I don't think that we need to be shy and back down when somebody's not following the rules. That's all.
Right on.
Yeah. When we went in there, I brought my cell phone because I was showing Jeff pictures of, sharing Joey's pictures with him. And they said, you can't have any cell phones in there. I said, I didn't fly all the way from Kansas because, now I'm brave because I see it's okay. You're not going to get arrested for it. So now I'm like, hey, I came all the way from Kansas. I need to show him his nephew. So, and believe it or not, they actually let us do it. So,
oh, good.
Yeah, the guy seemed to, so come
I think
on,
Mike's crap out of him. So
nice. Mike can be good at that when he needs to be. Yeah.
We lost him far too soon, and we could probably tell a good amount of stories, some appropriate for the air, some not.
We'll definitely tell those.
Some not, but he is an interesting character. Maybe I'll have his son on. Unfortunately, we lost his mother. Uncle Jerry and him had different mothers, but we lost his mother fairly recently. We talked about that after that happened. Sort of an unconventional family story, but
Lots of different functions in different areas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and one of the things about it is that maybe we don't have something that's conventional that everybody else has. Sometimes I look at people who had a grandpa, and I'm a little jealous of them in the sense that that must be nice to have had a grandpa. But not everybody can say that they've got an Uncle Jerry from Kansas that they didn't know existed till they were 8 years old and was such a cool guy and had all these
Right.
different things going on and got to see different parts of the country. I mean, because how many different states we've been in together?
Oh, probably what, at least 14, would you say?
Oh yeah, easy, right?
And
Been all over
Mexico,
the
right?
place. And we'd never gone to Mexico.
No, you
We
have to do
not.
that. Yeah, make that
We
happen.
have not.
Mike, come down. We're going to take my boat out and we're going to go across the Gulf over to Mexico.
Sounds good.
So we can say that it has been done.
That's right.
Mindy says, so Uncle Jerry is your actual uncle. He is, in fact, my actual uncle. But
The real deal.
I didn't know existed till I was 8 years old, and he didn't know I existed till he was, how old are you again? And you're not going to say it on the air. You're not going to say it on the air. Never mind.
He can't be older than me.
I always joke around. You ever watch The Sopranos and how Tony and Christopher, they were really cousins, but Christopher called him Uncle Tony? I think that's what it was. But it's kind of like that dynamic where, he's older than me, but it's almost like we were peers to a certain extent when I got older.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because you're obviously older than I am, but you're very young at heart, and so felt like we could hang when I got older. I don't know.
It doesn't look that obvious to me, really.
I tell you, Mike and I we get along and have such a good time. We can't but help to laugh.
That's good.
Constantly together. He's been one of the biggest blessings of my life. So
that's awesome.
Oh,
mine too.
And also one of the biggest pains in the can sometimes.
Well, that too,
What is it? One of the college ball player and stuff. I'm sure that I don't know. We had a lot of fun doing whatever it was that we were doing. It's not like I always wanted to go out and do things all the time at different hours of the night, right?
Oh, maybe, and you're right.
What's your favorite memory of Mike, Jerry?
Oh,
favorite memory?
Yeah.
How about Whoppers and the Beatles? Whoppers and the Beatles.
Yeah, we actually did. We had some really, really good trips because I would go pick them up and we'd drive from Oklahoma to New York.
Oh.
And we took a trip to one time and we stopped at the Walmart and there was something wrong with the car. And I told him, I said, we just need to go in and buy a little, because we couldn't find any fuses. We just need to get a little bit of tinfoil.
There you go.
And the tinfoil, we can wrap it around the fuse and we'll be good to go. So we go into the Walmart and we end up getting a bunch of Whoppers and the Beatles CD. And it was actually a lot of fun. But there was a piece of tinfoil there that was laying where was it at, Mike? By the deli or whatever?
Yeah. And it was like one of those things where how they got like napkins and they got everything like that.
Right.
So
there was some tinfoil there. So we get up to the register and so I told Mike, I said, you know what? I'm going to tell him you put that in your pocket.
That's awesome.
So we go up like, he did it. He's the one that did it.
Like running out with the free tinfoil.
Out the store.
Sir, we're with loss prevention. We need
we had a vendor. We were sleep deprived too because we would go the whole time.
That's funny.
Yeah, there was that. I think that was that night. We had a meeting. It might have been that time. You had a meeting. It was late at night, and we left from the meeting to start driving out to New York, and we got all the way into St. Louis, I think it was, and we stopped in St. Louis at a casino to quote unquote sleep, right? We stopped to sleep because there was a casino hotel.
That's what you do at casinos, yeah.
And we park the car and we go in. We're gonna go to the front desk and grab a room. And we're like, you know what? While we're here, let's just sit down and play a couple of hands while we're here. And like 8.5 hours later, we're like, all right, let's get in the car and go. Let's just keep going. We got in the car and kept heading home. We did a bunch of those trips over the
That's
years.
cool.
We're going across the entire country. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome,
And we would always go nonstop, so we didn't sleep hardly at all.
yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
Seems
Good
to
time.
run in the family too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
time.
I was very glad I didn't have to do that trip by myself.
Mm.
It was a lot of fun. We also, and somebody else who is no longer with us, we got to go watch Uncle Gary perform with Chris Cagle a few times, right?
Yep.
Mm.
That was a lot of fun. Kansas, that's a big deal out there. When I got out to Oklahoma and Kansas and you go to these country concerts, people are into that, no?
Oh yeah, I mean that's where your country out this way, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We got in the comments over here. Mindy says she's confused that you're the actual uncle because he looks like he could be your brother. Age-wise, you look like you could be my brother. Well, I hope it's not that I look old. I think it's that you look young.
That's what it is.
I think yeah, you look older than so it's you, Mike, not
I
me.
look old. I look old now. You get Tom Cruise a lot, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Before I broke my neck, though, I worked out all the time. So that's one thing that I haven't gotten back into was working out. I started working out, trying to make more money.
What we should do is we should have some kind of a contest with Uncle Jerry and Russ, the producer.
Yeah, now
some
we're
kind of
talking.
getting into shape contest. Or Russ has
Yeah.
got to lose weight and Jerry's got to start lifting weights.
The only problem is all you can eat is pizza, Jerry.
I eat a lot of pizza. I eat
Oh,
a
do
lot
you?
of-
Okay.
Yeah. I eat about 5 pounds of spaghetti a night.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, my wife makes me these big old bowls. You can't race motocross without being in good shape.
That's true. You got to
Yeah.
load up on your carbs.
Yeah.
Carb loading.
Frankly, motocross is actually, if you look it up, it's actually one of the most physical sports that you're gonna do.
Yeah,
because you're using so many different body muscles and parts. And
sure.
Core strength and balance. Do your forearms feel like they're on fire the next day?
If I don't ride if I don't keep riding and doing what I'm doing, and if I take some time off, then usually the first race or two it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you still ride at all, or did you stop?
Yeah. Matter of fact, I rode last week. Ended up getting 3rd overall. So.
Oh wow, cool.
That is not bad.
Not too shabby.
Not bad at all, sir.
Not too shabby.
He's very strong too for his size. What'd you say?
I said I was supposed to be number 1.
You're not number 1. That's the
Okay.
competitive attitude, right?
That's right.
Need to be number 1.
If you're not first, you're last, right? What was that? Bobby.
So, any retirement in your future?
I told my wife I wanted to retire now, and she said no.
So I ain't having you around the house all day.
But you got to wait till out of high school. So this is his senior year. So I told her, I said, "Oh, I'm about ready." But then I sat there and thought, "There's no way I can retire." But if I do retire, I'm going to be down there doing fishing charters and things like that on the ocean. But
very cool.
Oh wow, Chris, I think we need to call him up for a trip.
Yeah, we got to go out with Uncle Jerry.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
Plenty of room on my boat.
Cool.
Got a couple bedrooms.
That's awesome. So when you look back, all that you've accomplished, what would you say that you're most proud of?
As far as accomplishments or just things in life?
Anything. What's number 1 that comes to mind?
Just having family, true family.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you didn't know was going to happen when you were growing up?
Oh yeah. Well, having my sisters there, I was always having to try to be protective of those guys and, always looking out for them. So I took on a lot of responsibility early on in life. Um, but being able to have family that you can enjoy and respect, and that respects you, that was something that you really didn't realize that you could have until after everything kind of went to the wrong direction, and then I found my natural family. And then I think the biggest joy of my life is my son, and that was a blessing because we weren't supposed to be able to have any kids. So
Oh wow.
Cool.
so at age 40 we got pregnant. So
Wow.
Just
That's
a few
great.
weeks ago, huh?
Yeah. Right? Think about that.
Right.
Think about that.
Mm.
That's funny
Now-
that you
now-
say that you didn't know if you're gonna.
what I am, it kind of gives it away.
What's that?
I said now the math kind of gives it away how old I am now.
Right, right. We can
if
back
he's a
into it
senior
now.
If he's a senior in high school and you're 40, then that kind of gives it away.
But he skipped like 15 years of school because he's so smart, right?
Right.
That's incredible.
That's funny.
That's funny that you mentioned that you didn't know if you were going to have kids. And, I remember when he was born and everything like that, but I didn't realize that was the case.
Yeah.
It's not like you ask your uncle, hey, how's the fertility going or anything?
Yeah, right. What's going on over there?
Yeah.
That's something else.
Yeah. Life brings a lot of challenge. It really does.
Are you looking forward to being a grandpa someday?
No.
No? Well, I've been calling you grandpa for how many years now?
I don't want to feel old.
That serves you right.
Yeah, Michael. Well, happy birthday! You're older than dirt.
I believe it was older than dead dirt was the words.
There you go.
And of course, he was the youngest of all the uncles. He's the baby. But that's just a joke. Anybody who's older than me is old.
There you go.
Denise said, now I'm the old guy, right? Now I'm the old guy. You look perpetually young. And we look the same age, apparently. And Denise says, wait a minute. We got pregnant. How was your morning sickness?
I felt a lot of it, actually.
Mindy says, I was 36 when I had my first and 40 when I had my second. Oldest just turned 19 and youngest will be 15 soon. So apparently it's, something that happens. It's not as rare as we would think. So that's pretty cool. That's awesome.
Well, we raised a couple of other kids too. So.
Oh, so that's another thing that came in.
Yeah, remember Darian and Colton?
That's right. So they were your niece and nephew?
Yeah.
Ended up raising a niece and nephew. Very selfless guy.
Yeah.
What was, it seems like your whole life you've been working multiple jobs, right? Because we didn't even talk about some of the other businesses that you had on the side. Like you had a carpet cleaning company for a while. Like I show up and he's just got this full-fledged carpet cleaning company that he'd been running. And he's got people going out doing it. But if they can't do it, he'll go out there, he'll do it, no matter what time of day or anything like that. Just pop in because he's not the kind of guy who's going to tell other people to do things that he wouldn't do himself. And he went to like a Chinese restaurant and he goes, hey, your carpet's dirty. You need it cleaned. And they were like, oh, yeah, we do. So they said, all right, we'll be over on Tuesday. This is how much it's going to cost.
Nice.
It just done. Like it just made the sale right there.
Always be closing, right?
But always working multiple jobs, always
awesome.
responsible for people, whether it's he was the child responsible for the parent, responsible for the siblings, and, wife and kid, niece and nephew. Does it sort of feel like that's the normal for you, is to be a caretaker and a workhorse, so to speak?
Well, I don't know. I guess that's just who I learned to be, I guess.
So what will it be like in the next stage in life where you don't have all this stuff going on working wise and you're no longer a caretaker? What will that be like?
Honestly, it scares the fire out of me.
We're in the rogue hours. You can use whatever
Yeah.
words you want at this
Don't
point.
worry. Michael bring some cigars and start the fire
We'll
again.
bleep it out.
Yeah, right. Come burn the fields down again, Mike.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think I'll ever be able to just sit still or whatever, but and I'm sure I'm gonna take care of somebody somewhere always. There's always somebody that needs help. You know, we do a lot of stuff now. We adopt families all the time. You know, during the holiday seasons to make sure that, you know, I look for families that are trying but struggling.
Mm-hmm.
I will not help people that don't want to help themselves. And so when I find people that are trying to help themselves, then I typically sometimes go a little bit overboard. But I always try to find someone to do something good with.
Awesome.
So I think that caretaking is probably you know, it's just part of me, and it'll always be there. And I'll probably have something going on the side, just like, you know, I said, if I retire, I'm going to be doing charters and.
It'd be cool.
I can't see you being like a greeter at Walmart or anything like that. That's maybe when you're older. Yeah, maybe you could tell people where the tinfoil is.
Right. Having a car problem? Come over here.
Yeah, you just need some tinfoil.
Fixes everything every
Right.
time.
Fixes everything. So, all right. Well, do you have anything else that you want to add? Because I really appreciate you being so generous with your time.
No, just a lot of things I don't talk about a lot. So I actually shared a lot, Michael.
It was one heck of a story. Everybody truly
Very touching.
enjoyed
Very
it.
touching. Yeah.
And you know, your story is going to help a lot of other people out there who are going through struggles to understand that you can be persistent. You can have a comeback story, and under these kinds of circumstances. So thank you for having the courage to get out there and tell the story.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is people just have to understand you have choices, and the choices you make is what defines you. The choices and define yourself properly.
This gave me another thought when you're talking about families who want to help themselves, and you don't want to help anybody who isn't willing to help themselves. Does part of that come from your life experience, the fact that you know that you can overcome adversity? And, you know, if there's these people who are trying, maybe they're catching some bad breaks, that's one thing. But people who don't even get that far, does it irritate you on the inside? Does it irritate you when you see people who are lazy?
Unfortunately, it drives me out of my mind. I just don't. I've never been the person to ask for a handout, and I have never understood the people that expect the handouts all the time. So when you live life expecting somebody else to do the things for you that you should be doing for yourself, I don't think I would be helping them. I think I would be hurting them.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I don't think I've ever seen you more angry than when we were in Manhattan that one time. Do you remember this?
Yep.
It was my birthday. It was like 2:00 in the morning. We're at a pizza joint with my cousin. And this guy was asking everybody. There's this guy in there asking everybody for money. And I thought that I figured you were going to give him something at some point. But then he made the decision for you. I forget exactly what happened. But he told the guy behind the counter, "Oh, he's gonna pay for me," before you even said you would, or something like that.
Oh, geez, yeah, right. That's a great move. Yeah.
It's like, what the heck? I would have given you the money. You just don't force it on me.
Yeah, don't assume. Yeah.
What do you remember the rest of what happened on that? Because we gave him a little bit of money, and then he came back saying, "Hey, I think you guys need to give me more money."
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Right?
You gotta understand. It was late at night, you know.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I took some money and I tore it in half, and I gave him half of it, and I said, "When you decide hard, you can have the rest of it."
That's great.
And then you told him something about if you were this persistent at finding a job.
That's great.
He's like, go in there and ask them for a job, and then when they turn you away, come back and be like, "No, you're giving me that job. Remember, I want a job."
Yeah, the way he was approaching everything was just
Yeah, some of them get pretty aggressive. Yeah.
Yeah, it was rude. It was rude. You'd think that somebody would be
Mhm.
thankful under the circumstances. And this is a guy who helps all kinds of people.
oh yeah, I'll help anybody, like I said, but if they're not willing to help themselves, I'm not about it.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's a problem with it? Are you concerned with the direction this country's going in?
Well, absolutely, 100%.
Mm.
You know, I don't know if you guys, I'm willing to help anybody, but I also think that people that are able to help themselves should be helping themselves and not expecting the government to step in and try to help them.
Do you think people are becoming reliant on the government, or do you think there's been an attitude shift in perhaps the younger generation over the last, I don't know, 20 years as to what their own responsibility is? Is personal responsibility sort of going by the wayside?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even when as an employer and looking for employees for different businesses, this younger generation for some reason feels like they need to come in and start at the very top level of pay without work themselves up to earning what they can prove. So this idealism of self entitlement and everything is owed to me, philosophy that these people have nowadays is just I don't get it. I don't understand it. But I think with all the stimuluses and all those things, all it has done is profounded it to become a bigger problem.
Mhm.
Oh, we got to get back to the America that we once were. Hard work, right? Loving our families and taking care of our families and having solid values.
Yeah.
We get back to that, we'll be in good shape. We keep going in the wrong direction, we will not.
Very true, Michael.
But Kansas is kind of its own different world, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah, Kansas is definitely a whole different world than New York or even California. That's why we live in the Midwest.
Mhm.
What does it feel like in Kansas when you see people in California want to make these changes at the federal level that'll impact you in Kansas? In Pennsylvania, we sort of feel that way because we got New York and New Jersey, and Pennsylvania is very much different than them, but not quite like California versus Kansas.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, we're a lot of people call us rednecks around this area. So there is that there's a lot of animosity. There's a lot of frustration. So Kansas, we don't like a lot of these changes that they're trying to do. Right now, I think even today, I probably had at least 15 clients just really mad about this, college education being, these college student loans being absorbed. They don't want to pay for somebody else's college where they're actually out there, making big money. But yet they feel like, okay, now I have to pay for it. So
they don't have to pay for it. It's free. It's free. Didn't you know that?
oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Free for everybody else to pay for it.
It's free. The vaccines, the zucchinis are free.
Yeah, it's all free.
Everything's free.
Yeah. So yeah, that hopefully that kind of gives you a little idea of Kansas.
And since you seem to have a good business acumen, obviously, do you think that inflation's a problem?
Inflation is a tremendous problem.
I guess you don't have to be a business genius to figure that out, do you?
Sure, just like everywhere, and like in the insurance world, if there's as we're trying to pay out for claims, even like on automobiles right now, a used vehicle, at one point, if a 2015 Honda would be worth with 175,000 miles. In the typical market around here would be worth $6,000-7,000.
Yeah.
Well, we're totaling out vehicles and having to pay $21,000 for that.
Whoa.
So when you talk about inflation and the inflation of the market, the shortages that everybody says is out there. Yeah, it's really scary, especially when you're sitting on another side of the financial portion, seeing these losses. We had a big tornado in Andover that tore down houses, and those houses, typically when they bought those houses, the rebuild cost now is 40-50% higher.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Than what they could have done 2 years ago. And so making sure they have proper amount of insurance coverages. There's a lot out there that just try to sell a policy without worrying about the big dollar coverage. And so we see a lot of people with this inflation really getting hurt from it.
What do you think's going to happen? Where do you think all this is headed, in your opinion?
Well, I'm sure we're going to probably, in my opinion, I think we're going to hit a big depression, and everything's going to fall.
What can people do to prepare for that?
As far as one thing, I think people need to be putting their money in the proper areas. Buying gold, buying silver, buying property if they can get it at reasonable cost. So just investing in areas that are not going to be ill affected near as much as
the dollar.
Right.
Yeah.
So the dollar is really what's not good to have it right now.
Right.
Gotcha.
Invest in these items.
Denise says we've got to keep praying. That's something else that we've got to do.
Yes.
I agree with Denise. That is something another thing that we've lost in this country. It just so happens that further and further the country gets from God, the more problems we have. It's just a coincidence, right?
Yeah.
Just a coincidence.
It's all random. Everything's random that's going on, right?
Just a coincidence. Just so happens.
Mm.
Well, Jerry, I hope that you will come back on the program and join us sometime. You've been a fantastic guest. You got a tremendous story, and I hope that we didn't hound you too hard on this.
No, I just got a little embarrassed there for a moment, but
It's all good.
There's nothing to be embarrassed about.
Mm-hmm.
People are liking your conversations on this kind of stuff, Jerry. Dag Nabbit says, at what point will people have had enough? So people are, I don't know, and people in Kansas starting to get frustrated.
Oh, absolutely. I honestly, if we start seeing things continue to happen, I wouldn't doubt that we would start seeing rebellions coming out, and seeing a lot of things that maybe we don't want to see. But
unfortunately, yeah.
Or hopefully we could just vote the bums out, right?
Yeah.
There's that too.
more division coming, probably. Unfortunately,
we'll see.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to say certain things. What did we come up with the Darfadov, right? The Darfadov.
Yeah, that's right.
No more Darfadov.
Right. Gotta get rid of that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We got to say words backwards and encode on this show, Jerry. Sorry. Otherwise, we get kicked off the internet. Well, thanks so much for joining us. We'll let you get back to your wonderful family. We've taken enough of your time, and really, really appreciate it. Magnificent story. And everybody in the family is incredibly proud of you. And we're glad that you turned up and you didn't give up going through that phone book.
It's awesome.
Absolutely.
Have a great day. You God bless.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hopefully.
All right. What a guest. That was great.
Wow.
Philly Chris, take the wheel for a minute, okay?
Okay, sure. All right. It was interesting hearing Jerry talk about his suggestions about where this is going and some things to do. We've talked about gold and silver on the show, and sounds like he's also making those suggestions. So something to consider. If anybody missed it, we did a pretty good episode a few months ago with Richard from the local Delaware County coin shop there, so check that out. But how's everybody doing? How you doing, Russ? What's going on, Liberty? How are you guys?
Hello.
Hello.
Listening to the amazing story.
Yeah, no, it was really awesome.
I really
to have
like
him
this
on, yeah.
series. You know?
I've been really it's amazing. It's been kind of easy in a way being on the show recently because we've had such amazing guests, and no, the stories have been so powerful and meaningful, and hopefully
It's real
everybody's
life.
been enjoying them.
You know, it's real life because we see so much crazy stuff on the news, and I think it's a breath of fresh air, and we're hearing like these true comeback stories and overcoming stories, and you know, it's just inspiring. It's kind of stuff I think we need to hear.
Yeah, that's a good point, especially now, you know, with everything going on and the negative energy that's out there. I think
Rather than Biden falling asleep all the time and the president stuffing the toilet with, you know, papers. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I was reading something about that today. I guess they're going to release possibly a redacted affidavit about what happened, but who knows? I'm sure the truth will not get out.
They said that they found 300 classified documents or something like that. I think 300.
Well, I mean, again, that's my understanding, unless I'm wrong, that former presidents can have classified information and they can determine what is classified and not classified. So
I did look that up, and from the article I read, it seems like the current sitting president has the authority to say like or deny it.
Okay.
You know, with the clearance. So like I guess technically their clearance doesn't go away, but the sitting president, I believe, can make the ultimate decision.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
so I don't know. But yeah, so I would like to hear some more comeback stories. We're always looking for them. So if anybody out there does have any comeback stories, write into MikeGinthemorning.com and let us know.
That is correct.
That's correct, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, that was good.
They're asking for a Mike G in the Morning Christmas party. That would be
I think that's a good idea, actually.
And we get a venue to host that.
I second that. Let's do it.
It's going to be at a cigar shop, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, that's fine. We'll have a Christmas tree and maybe a little gift exchange. Maybe we could do like that. What's that one where you do the funny gifts or whatever, the elephant exchange or something like that?
Oh, yeah, that would be funny.
I'll get Russ some pizzas.
Oh, poor Russ. It sounds like he needs some pizza storage.
Yeah, right. Freezer for the pizza. Yeah. No, that was.
Listen, I already tried purchasing a deep freezer from Walmart.
Yeah.
I got to Walmart, I purchased it, and I got it to my car, and it didn't fit. I had to take it back.
Oh boy.
You can't get it delivered?
No,
it's not delivery. It's DiGiorno.
Hold on. I'm gonna.
We gotta find a way to get Russ.
Because I am my uncle's nephew and I am persistent, so I'm gonna figure out how to get a deep freezer delivered to Russ.
There we go. There we're talking.
Isn't it cold at North Pole anyhow? Can't you just leave
Home
it outside?
Depot?
Yeah, in the wintertime, you just keep them in the garage.
I normally just toss it outside into the snow and then dig it up later.
Russ, did you try Home Depot?
Squirrel. No.
Or Lowe's?
No.
Right.
How big is this thing? Would it fit in like a station wagon or something?
Yeah, it would fit in anything larger than a Nissan.
Okay.
Oh, why didn't you ask for the best?
I could give you a hand. Yeah, I could come out and give you a hand with it.
Well, I'm also seeing on Walmart.com
delivery
3-day shipping, 2-day shipping.
Yeah, I don't want to have it shipped. I don't like buying things online. Not things that are like super expensive. Like I'll buy a DVD.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to buy a freezer that's like $200 or $300.
Why not though? If they'll deliver it.
Because if it's the wrong thing or if it's broken, then I gotta have them, undeliver it and give me a new one. That's annoying.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so hold on. It looks like they've got one that's in the store. I wonder if they will deliver something that they have in the store.
Yeah.
If you're talking about giving me a free freezer, Mike, I will waive my standards of not wanting delivery, and I will let you.
Here we go.
Will we make like an unboxing video and everything?
Sure.
The guy in line there is going to pay for it.
How many cubic feet are we looking here?
The one that I tried purchasing was the 5 cubic foot one, and like the shape of the door hole in my car.
The door hole.
Yes, that's a technical term. I swear. It like didn't fit, and my trunk it like the trunk hole just was too small
Hmm.
Huh.
and it wouldn't fit in the passenger seat because
When you fill the car up, do you open the gas hole?
Chris, you're a gas hole.
This might be true.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, Mike, if you're talking about getting me a freezer, I'm not going to stand in your way.
You'll shut up and just accept it.
I'll deliver you some ice.
Oh, all right, for my freezer.
There you go.
It's gotta be
How am I
an
supposed to
unboxing video.
Things cold.
Gotta be an unboxing video. You know, there was
Yeah.
this issue in terms of opinion that came down.
What did?
Rich was telling me about any part of the license plate being obscured is enough for probable cause for a stop.
Mm.
It's enough for a stop. Any part of the license plate being obscured.
Okay.
I think that the decision is ridiculous. And it shows how lawmakers are incredibly sloppy.
Mm-hmm.
If the law really means what the court is saying that it means, there should not be four subparts to the law. When you're looking at the law regarding the license plates being obscured, I want to pull this up.
Is this something in the news that I missed? I'm not sure what's going on.
So basically, no, it's just Rich sent me over this case where
Oh, okay. Okay.
the court found that if any part of your license plate's obscured, that's enough for a stop.
Okay.
Does
Do
that
they count those covers, like the tinted covers and stuff like that?
So here's what
probably?
the law says, and I think
Okay.
at issue in this particular case, the officer stopped the vehicle solely for an obscured license plate. In particular, the officer testified that he could view the characters on the registration plate, but he had difficulty seeing the website,
Oh,
which
did
is
he forget what?
visitpa.com on the bottom.
Did he forget what was
visitpa.com.
there?
did he
And the
forget?
attorney argued, well, that's not important. That's not enough to do a stop if the
Right.
license plate is obscure. If the website's obscured, you could see
Right.
the plate numbers. That's all. That's what the purpose of a plate is.
Yeah, some of those frames are a
And
little
but
larger.
the court
than
said no.
Hmm.
If any part of the plate is
Really?
obscured, then that's enough. So here's what the law says. Section 1332B prohibits the display of an obscured registration plate on a vehicle as follows. It is unlawful to display on any vehicle a registration plate which, one, is so dirty as to prevent the reading of the numbers or letters thereon at a reasonable distance. That
Okay.
sounds fair, right?
Mm-hmm.
2 is obscured in any manner which inhibits the proper operation of an automated red light enforcement system in place pursuant to 3116 or 3117 or any other automated enforcement system authorized by this title or an electronic toll collection system as authorized under 8117. 3 is otherwise illegible at a reasonable distance or is obscured in any manner. Or 4 is obscured, covered, or otherwise obstructed in a manner which inhibits the visibility of the issuing jurisdiction at a reasonable distance.
Okay.
What is reasonable distance? I want to know what that is.
Apparently, it doesn't matter, right?
It's not defined,
It's
apparently. Yeah.
Because, in my opinion, if the court's saying that no part of it can be obstructed,
What
at
about
all,
license plate frames?
then it should just say they don't need to go through all 4 of them. It
Yeah.
should just say, it's unlawful to have your plate if the numbers are illegible at a reasonable distance or obscured in any manner. That's it. Done. Because if you start listing other ways it could be obscured, then why would you also have
Yeah.
or obscured in any manner, right?
What's another fine example of how the laws are just kind of silly?
It's like saying, all right, there's no fish allowed in the apartment, but also no goldfish,
Right. That's
and
right.
also
Right.
no guppies,
Right. No government.
and also no minnows. And it's like, they're all fish, you mustard eating knucklehead.
Right.
They're
Hold
all
on.
fish. When you said no fish, that
Right.
covered all of it. It was unnecessary to go through the others.
What about my pet salmon?
I'm gonna write that.
Well, yeah. What if it's like a sympathy fish or something, or
the law says no guppies allowed in the apartment. Also, no fish of any kind allowed in the apartment.
no live fish, no dead fish?
But also no goldfish allowed in the apartment. And we
What if
mean
you have
it, no minnows. We
what
mean
if you
it.
have a?
We mean it.
What about my emotional support orca? That's
Yeah,
not
right.
A fish. It's a
That's
mammal.
not a fish, I don't think, right?
It's a mammal.
What if
It's
you have
ma-
a picture
it's
of a
mammal.
fish? What if you have a
I
picture of a fish?
I told Rich the other day, I said,
Uh-huh.
You and I are such an odd combination of nerd and street guy. And it's like, I've never seen two guys who are more or a more strange combination where we each have both nerd and street guy in us.
That's good though. It's a good combination.
It is.
You need that.
He sends me something about, I guess there's this new Lord of the Rings TV show that's coming out.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And he sent me over a message about, and I don't watch that stuff. But he sends me over something about, he's excited this new Lord of the Rings thing's coming out. I sent him back. I just sent him back a phrase: bizarre combination of nerd and street guy.
That's pretty good.
I want to have him on to discuss this stuff because we like talking about these issues. Now,
Lord of the Rings.
did you guys know that Act 70? You remember he and I had that discussion about Act 77?
Briefly, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
It's the mail-in voting as to whether it's constitutional, and we went back
Yeah.
and forth on it. I said
Right.
that it's unconstitutional, and I gave him the reasons, and he said it is constitutional. He gave his reasons.
Okay.
It turns out we were both kind of wrong.
Oh.
At least the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania says we were both kind of wrong. They disagree
Okay.
with each one of us in some way. Now, they agreed with him as far as the result. They upheld it as constitutional. So mail-in voting is going to continue to be allowed in Pennsylvania.
Interesting.
On basically
Move somewhere else.
no reason necessary absentee ballots.
Just completely if whoever
just like
wants
the
to do
last
it.
election. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Where
The
was
most
my
Well, wasn't the
opinion-
problem that they changed it without going through the proper
No,
no.
they did go through the
they did?
plenty of Republicans voted for it.
Okay.
That wasn't the issue. The issue was that the Constitution, on my reading and on reading of other previous cases, was that that's simply not allowed. Now, when we talked about it on the show, my point was if you look at these previous cases and how they've interpreted the Constitution, then you can't possibly come to the conclusion that you can't possibly come to the conclusion that this is allowed.
Okay.
Rich said you could, based on the reading of those cases, come to the conclusion that it's allowed.
Interesting. All
So we
right.
disagreed. Well, the court, like I said, didn't agree with either of us. The court said it is allowed, but those other cases are nonsense and we're overturning those other cases. So,
Oh, really? Oh,
so
okay. Okay.
I think I was right in the sense that you can't reconcile those old cases with allowing it. And Rich was obviously right in terms of the final result, right? What the court was going to uphold as constitutional.
Sure.
But the court didn't agree with him that you could reconcile those cases with this result.
Gotcha. Interesting.
We're both
I like it when
part
you guys
wrong,
get
part
into some
right.
debates, but you guys seem to have a good way of debating.
Yeah. Why?
I don't know. You just seem to not. You seem to get along, even though you're debating. Like you can do it without getting upset with each other.
Yeah.
At least from what I've seen. But
You can do it without calling.
although you
each
guys have probably
names.
punched each other a few times. I don't know. Maybe.
We agree on a lot of different things.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah.
It's good to have the stuff that we don't agree on, though, because we often bring these things up to one another when we have a case
Mhm.
and we're working on it together. I'll
Yeah.
bring a different perspective that maybe he didn't see. He'll bring a different perspective that I was like, why would anybody think that? You know?
Right.
Yeah, we had one recently actually
Uh-huh.
where we were talking about the way we thought it was going to be resolved. And I said, this case is total nonsense. I'm going to show up and I'm going to basically tell the prosecutor
Here
what
come
the
the bad
heck.
comments again.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. How do we
Jesus.
block this? Oh, they're really spamming us. We're
All
getting
of a sudden,
attacked
yeah.
hardcore here. No pun intended.
Wonder who's behind that.
Let's see. What do we report it or remove it?
I don't know. Is it bad to report? What were you saying, Russ? It seems to happen toward the end of the show every time now.
Can we say like hide the user on this channel or something?
You know what's ridiculous though with these platforms and all the censorship they're doing?
Yeah,
like
we
if you
can't say
read that-
zucchini.
yeah, but you can have that in your comment
Right.
and just put it on anybody's video.
Because they don't care about that. They
Well,
care
apparently not.
about information.
Or maybe they're using it to go after targeted people on YouTube. Who knows?
I think I got rid of it.
Cool. Oh yeah, it looks like you did. Nice job. Yeah.
Block
Good work.
user.
Good work, brother. Yeah, Rich should come back on soon. That would be nice.
We had one recently where we were talking about the case and he was like, oh, I think this dude's going to be in trouble, bro. This is going to be an uphill battle for us. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to go in there. I'm going to look at the prosecutor and be like, you kidding me? Like, give me a break. You got to be kidding me. And he was like, I don't think so, man. You're going to be in for a rude awakening. It's like, I'm telling you, this is my gut.
Uh-huh.
And we went in there. Me and the prosecutor getting back. I'm like, come on, man. What the heck? You know, you got to be kidding me with this.
Right.
And he was like, I know. Yeah, I know.
Oh, really?
He was like, if this was put on my desk, I wouldn't have approved it.
How about that?
So we got rid of it.
Oh, that's good. It's too bad though that happens so often.
But I'm
And you have
glad
to go
that.
through it all.
But it didn't even cross my mind that it wouldn't be that. So I was
Mhm.
glad to have Rich there to say, hey, dude, you know,
Yeah.
somebody might look at this and think differently than that.
Right.
Or he might say, oh, I think they'll argue this. I'm like, why would they argue that? I'm telling you,
Mhm.
here's why.
Right. Yep.
Well,
No.
that would make what makes us so prepared. We actually are getting ready. We're going to have this argument in front of the Third Circuit.
Okay.
A Second Amendment case that could end up in the Supreme Court.
Oh yeah. Oh wow.
If we win this case, it'll be the first of its kind in Pennsylvania, or in the country rather. So it'll be a very big deal.
Cool. That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
You'll have to update us when you can.
Going
Was
against
that-
the DOJ.
Was Russ using the microwave or something there? What was that beeping?
Yeah, sounds like it.
It's not me.
Who turned on subscribers only mode?
I
Yeah,
did.
Oh, you did. Okay.
You did.
Okay.
Yes, that's how you stop these people.
Stop these dirty movie
Hmm.
websites.
Yeah. You make it
Gotcha.
subscribers only. The bots don't subscribe.
Huh.
Well, if you haven't subscribed, now would be an opportune time.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Just don't try to
Prove to
promote
us
any
that you're
dirty
not a
movie
bot.
sites on.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah, you'll get banned.
Mm-hmm.
Where's Liberty? Liberty
Make it
leave.
Maybe she was warming something up.
Liberty Lee means Liberty Lee is Liberty left.
Wait, what happened?
Were you warming something up in the microwave, Liberty?
Whoops! I thought I heard unmute.
Literally.
What were you warming up?
What the heck was I warming
Sure.
up?
Didn't you have another public restroom story or something?
Oh, did she?
I
Can't
did.
wait.
I don't know.
I
I thought you told me earlier in the week that you were waiting. You couldn't wait to tell something on the air.
I gotta think. I've had quite a few. Oh, yes. So, no, not really like the actual toilet, but I went to a public restroom in New Jersey.
Ew.
And it was absolute supreme chaos. And it made me understand why there is a government. Hear me out, because people were nuts. It stunk. It was hot. People were everywhere. People were cutting you off. The women's line was so long. People were staring at you. It was stinky. Things were messed up. And I said, I can't. There needs to be a government. And I walked out of there. Like
I love that a New Jersey bathroom is what made Liberty realize there should be government.
It was disgusting. And
Yeah,
I
they
couldn't.
can
I
be,
almost like, when I tell you guys, I perfected not touching anything in a restroom, like not one thing. And it just, I wanted out and I wanted a system. I said, this is chaos. This is disgusting. If you let all these people like, just like kind of like Russ's video game, just do their own thing.
right.
Then you know why people take all of the stuff left at the grocery store, or like, you know what I mean? Like they're just nuts. Like I can't.
It's sort of like a window into humanity. Yeah.
I tried to hold it. I really tried.
Sometimes you can't, though. I understand.
Sometimes you can't. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Right.
I was in Manhattan for New Year's Eve, the year 2000, to watch a ball drop, and ended up like, there were like no bathrooms
That
pretty much
is,
for people.
you would, Philly Chris. You would go to Manhattan for Y2K. Like everybody in New York knew you stay in your damn house.
Right,
This is like the one time ever
right.
that you stay in your house.
Yeah.
Because
It actually wasn't really my idea, though, to be honest with you. I mean, I would
but
tell you
went
if it
along
was.
with it.
It was my wife's idea at the time. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like the thing to do. And yeah, as soon as we got on the
Did
train.
you say it was a terrible idea?
I really was kind of like, I don't know about this. I went along with it, so I'm not going to say like I wouldn't have gone, but I had a feeling it was going to be chaos, But we went into some restrooms in the subway, and it was just like I can't even talk about it.
New Year's Eve in New York is terrible always, on a regular year. But that was Y2K. We didn't know if
that on
everything was
top
going
of
to
it.
shut down. We had our bathtubs filled with water and stuff like that.
Right. But people were just literally, relieving themselves everywhere.
Did you not have that in mind?
What's that?
That I could get home and there could be no power and stuff like that.
It sort of crossed my mind, but at the time I was actually working for a pretty big company, and we had done a lot of preparation for the whole thing, and I just figured there was more hype around it than.
So you were pretty sure that everything was going to be fine.
I thought it was going to be all right. I thought it was blown out of proportion a little bit at the time. Yeah.
Two topics of discussion. Woodstock 99 documentary. Funniest thing ever. Watching liberals try to simultaneously talk about peace, yet hire these bands that are absolutely insane, and talk about gun control. Mike had watched it also. Not sure if you got the memo, Philly Chris. We sent it out, but we want everybody to watch it.
Oh no, I don't think I saw it. Yeah.
Okay, and then so maybe we'll wait till you see it, but it's out of control.
Okay.
And number two was we could talk about it next week, but I did put something in the doc about this. The woman in the pink shirt, I call her. She's been on my mind all day. She annoyed me so much I actually had to turn her off when I was working out because I wanted to I was trying to cool down and she was making me want to punch the air. So but anyway, we can play that next.
Let's do Woodstock next week.
Sounds good.
Why don't we talk about Woodstock? Should we talk about Woodstock now?
Well,
we're saving for next week. Just make sure we actually get to it, because that's not a.
Why don't we start the show with it? Because everybody
Woodstock 99 is not a current event topic, so it's not like
but they talk about current event topics like the gun control. We have a very specific discussion.
Oh yeah, nothing's changed. I'm not saying that the world has changed, but I'm saying that if we talk about Woodstock 99 next week as opposed to this week, it's not going to be like, oh, that's 2-week-old news.
Right.
Yeah.
2-decade-old news.
2-week-old.
Older than that.
No. And same with the video I posted too. It's still an ongoing discussion. But this lady, she'll really make you angry if you're on the right side, quote unquote, of politics.
Right.
Or even just basic humanity.
Wait, do you want to? Is it in the doc or no?
Yes.
Do you want to show it and then we can leave it with our audience for a week and then we'll come back? We'll have a full discussion about it next week.
Let it simmer a little bit.
Yeah.
Sure.
Why not, Russ?
I
Why
like
don't you
that
pull that
idea.
up, Russ?
Oh,
Jamie, pull that up.
Oh, you want
Chris
me to
doesn't
use
laugh.
the? You want me to use the dock, Mike?
I thought Chris was gonna laugh at what I said. Jamie, pull that up. Jamie,
Yeah,
pull
right.
that up.
Oh, I missed it. Yeah, well, check it out. Now you got me curious. I want to see it. Let's see what it's all
You know
about.
who was a good interview? Dave Mustaine. Have you seen that?
Mm-mm.
Lead singer from Megadeth, born again Christian.
Oh, okay. Be cool. We were going to have him on, weren't we?
is it the YouTube link?
Not Megadeth, Mushroomhead.
Yeah.
We get Dave Mustaine on. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I could work on that.
What am I
Right.
looking
We do have to get Jeffrey Nothing on. That will be amazing too.
What am I looking for in the doc? There's
Oh
one.
my goodness, the lady in the
Probably
pink shirt, Russ.
YouTube link.
I put specific directions, including a timestamp. 2 timestamps. There's 2 timestamps.
Here we go.
I have to know how to read.
I got to listen while I'm on the show. We'll check it out. So it's a lady in the yellow shirt. Is what
The
you're saying?
man in the yellow hat.
Man in the yellow hat.
The Curious George and the man in the yellow
How do you
hat.
know she's a woman, though, Liberty?
Oh, I question that, to be honest.
Wonderful. We do love Russ, though. We love Russ, Denise.
Russ is fast forwarding in real time.
Well, I agree with your conclusion. I would state the argument a little differently. I would say, number one, the burden on a person getting a tiny jab in your arm is tiny, and the burden on a person to carry a pregnancy and give birth to a child you don't want is enormous. So they're not comparable. I would say the consequences of failing to vaccinate are to cause harm, including death, to people who are alive and who are sentient and who we all agree have value, whereas abortion causes harm to an embryo or a fetus, and we do not have a societal consensus that embryos and fetuses have enormous moral value.
Ah,
Got it. Okay. So
Wow. Wins her argument, huh?
So just let that sit with you for a week.
There's more at 11:46, but I know the exact time.
So getting
let that just be the taste.
all right.
We don't have to.
I'm
go
trying to
there.
hold it in, Mike.
Yeah, let that be the taste, and then next
Okay.
week we'll revisit
Okay.
this.
Okay.
Wow.
Verso popping in.
This is why I begin to lose faith in humanity. Really.
Me too.
You know?
Me too.
Because yeah. Okay.
According to
I'll
her.
save-
We'll
I'll
talk
save
about
for
that next week.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
save it for next week.
All right.
That's it. All right.
Sounds like a plan.
That's all time we've got for today. Stick around for We the People, The Constitution Matters. Pastor David Whitney, Professor Phil Duffy. I'll be joining as your legal analyst. We miss you, Ellie. Daddy loves you.